Chapter 1020. Is that so? Hesitation flashed in Miss Mo's eyes. Then, she did not linger on this topic. She said, "The Lu clan's people have not appeared yet. Tell our subordinates not to let down their guard. Before we return to Starry Cloud Island, we cannot relax. This old man has his own plans. Young miss, there is no need to worry. We have to worry. It was not easy for us to find enough cyclic meteor metal on this trip. If something happens, we will not be able to complete the City Lord's mission. At that time, the consequences will be dire. In that case, I'll tell my subordinates to pay more attention. I'll take my leave first." Uncle Wang turned around and left, leaving only Miss Mo in the control room. He frowned heavily. The scene of Xiao Chen calmly dodging appeared in his mind, a miraculous scene of Xiao Chen dodging. She muttered to herself, "The confidence and sharpness on that person's face. No matter how I look at it, it does not seem like a coincidence." However, Miss Mo's expression turned cold in the blink of an eye. When she thought of Xiao Chen's frivolous gaze earlier, she no longer cared about this person. Even if he is strong, he is just a lecher. After traveling for 7 days, the injuries to Xiao Chen's meridians had mostly recovered. He could now circulate his quintessence and fight without any problems. As for Ao Jiao, she finally found out the location and name of this sea region. She also gained a better understanding of what kind of faction the Mo clan was. If she did not want to expose herself, she could only learn from the words of the cultivators on the ship. The information she obtained was not complete. However, with the sea map in Xiao Chen's hand, she still had a clear idea of where they were. This sea region was called the Shattered Cloud Sea. It was a small, independent sea region between the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea. There were 7 other similar sea regions in the vicinity. They were the Broken Cloud Sea, the Chaotic Cloud Sea, the Separated Cloud Sea, the Heavenly Cloud Sea, the Connected Cloud Sea, and the Misty Cloud Sea. On the sea map, this region was collectively known as the Cloud Sea Domain. The Cloud Sea Domain was definitely not as large as those super sea regions named after their locations. However, it was not much smaller than the Tianwu Domain, where Xiao Chen was. The reason was none other than the desolate sea regions above the sea regions, which were too vast and could not be compared to land. The Shattered Cloud Sea, where Xiao Chen was now, was about the size of 10-odd provinces of the Tianwu Domain. There were tens of thousands of islands. As for the Mo clan, just as Xiao Chen had guessed, it was a rank 6 clan. The Mo clan was famous for refining weapons, and it could be considered a considerable force in the Shattered Cloud Sea. However, the one who is truly famous in the Mo clan is the Mo clan's eldest young Mississippi. Her name is Mo Chin. She is the top beauty of the Cloud Sea Domain. Even in the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea, she is quite famous. Young talents go to visit her every year. Ao Jiao looked at Xiao Chen mischievously. The meaning behind it was self-evident. Beauty? How beautiful can she be? I've seen so many beauties. Xiao Chen did not care about it. What he cared about was the strength of the Mo clan and the strength of the peak experts in this sea region. However, it was very difficult to obtain this information from the Mo clan's cultivators in secret. Xiao Chen still had to go out and personally talk to the others before he could gain any information. The purple warship was very large. The interior of the warship was very spacious. Furthermore, aside from the guest rooms and storehouses, there were other entertainment rooms. The most popular one was a tavern. Aside from the Mo clan's cultivators, there were also many wandering cultivators hired by the Mo clan. There were also a few cultivators like Xiao Chen who wanted to hitch a ride. Indeed, the warships of the heavenly starry ocean were very different from those of the continent. For example, the tavern that Xiao Chen was currently in. The warships of the continent rarely went to such a bustling place. The interior of the tavern was exquisitely decorated, and the environment was elegant. It was not as noisy as the tavern outside. After all, this was the Mo clan's internal tavern. Even cultivators would control their drinking and not let it affect official business. The moment Xiao Chen stepped into the tavern, he felt many gazes on him. Then they started discussing in low voices in the tavern. That's him. 7 days ago, when the 2 elders made a move, he charged over like a ghost. That can't be. No matter how I look at it, he is just a martial monarch. How could he dodge the killing moves of two martial sages so easily? It is indeed true. However, Steward Wang said that it was a coincidence. The two elders were careless, allowing him to take advantage of the situation. I think it is also a coincidence. Otherwise, it would be too strange. Ignoring these discussions, Xiaochen found an empty table and sat down. Then, he called over a manservant and asked, "What good wine do you have? Give me a flask." That manservant was clearly a member of the Mo clan. He smiled and said, "If we are talking about good wine on the warship, naturally, it is the 1,000-year flame that our young Miss brewed herself." 1,000-year flame, what a strange name. Give me a flask, then. Xiaochen sighed softly. The name 1,000-year flame really piqued his interest. The meaning of the 1,000-year flame was easy to understand. It was a flame that burned for 1,000 years without extinguishing. However, what kind of wine could be called the 1,000-year flame? Friend, I was just joking about this 1,000-year flame. You probably cannot afford it. Furthermore, the wine is priced by the cup and not by the flask. That manservant looked at Xiaochen with some disdain. The 1,000-year flame was normally prepared for martial sages. Without a martial sage's status, one would not be able to afford it. The other Mo clan cultivators in the tavern all laughed, mocking Xiaochen for being a country bumpkin who had not seen the world. However, when the manservant said that, Xiaochen became even more interested. How much is one cup? 1,000 astral coins. Hey, that is not very expensive. Give me 10 cups. Huang dang. Xiaochen stretched out his hand, and 100 black astral coins neatly landed on the table. Before the laughter of the others faded away, when they saw this scene, they could not help but goggle. Their smiles froze on their faces. Black astral coins. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen took out black astral coins. Furthermore, he did not even blink, directly taking out 100 black astral coins. That was 10,000 astral coins. 10,000 astral coins. To a martial monarch, this was a huge sum. An ordinary inferior-grade martial monarch would have to work hard for at least a month to save up such a sum. The manservant checked the black astral coins and carefully put them away. However, he rejoiced in his heart. The quality of the astral iron in black astral coins was much better than that of ordinary astral coins. For the sake of refining secret treasures, the Mo clan had to use astral coins to exchange for black astral coins at a high price every year. Xiaochen handed over 100 black astral coins, which was considered a significant contribution within the clan. 10 cups of 1,000-year flame. They will be ready soon. Please wait a moment. The manservant moved very quickly. Soon, he carried a tray and placed 10 transparent purple crystal cups on the table. The wine in the cups was scarlet. There was not much wine in the cups. They looked like clumps of burning blood. Together with the glowing purple crystal cups, they gave off a dreamlike visual enjoyment. The purple crystal cups were similar to the goblets of Xiaochen's previous life. However, they were more elegant and aloof. Did your clan's young miss design these cups as well? Xiaochen asked. When talking about his clan's young miss, the manservant said proudly, "That is natural. You are lucky. Our clan's young miss is very talented. Be it brewing wine, refining secret treasures, zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, formations, medicine, or astrology, there is nothing she cannot do. You are very lucky to be able to buy this 1,000-year flame from the tavern of our Purple Cloud worship. If you went to another place, this cup of wine would be 10 times more expensive. Even if you had the money, you would not be able to drink it. 10 times more expensive? Wouldn't that mean that one cup of wine could sell for 1,000 black astral coins? This price shocked Xiaochen somewhat. If he sold 10 cups of wine every day, that would be close to 4 million black astral coins a year. However, after thinking about it, he smiled to himself. This was somewhat unrealistic. The brewing of this wine was probably not a simple matter. There had to be some restrictions. Xiaochen carefully sized up this wine. The wine was as scarlet as blood. However, it was very different from true blood and did not seem repulsive. It gave off an intoxicating feeling of redness, tender and alluring, causing one to be intoxicated. It was as delicate as clear water and as bright as blood. However, there seemed to be something else in the wine. Xiao Chun could not just drink it down like that. Xiao Chun picked up the wine cup and swirled the wine in it. Tiny specks of golden light floated up from the wine and quickly filled the cup. Boom! A golden flame soared up from the wine cup and turned into a legendary holy beast, the golden crow. It cried out in the air of the tavern and flew around. Interesting. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. Then he started tapping the table rhythmically with his fingers. The remaining 9 cups of thousand-year flame also started swaying slowly. Bang! 9 flames soared out from the wine like a blazing sun. In an instant, a dazzling golden light lit up the dim tavern, making it seem like it was brightly lit. It was a great honor to have such a humble place lit up by such a bright light. 10 golden crows chased each other in the sky above the tavern, forming a miraculous scene of 10 connected suns. This magnificent scene stunned the others. Originally, these people were prepared to watch Xiao Chun make a fool of himself. The thousand-year flame could not be drunk directly. He had to shake it for a while. Otherwise, if he drank it in one go, he would not be able to extinguish the fire in his body. However, his body would catch fire in that instant. His clothes, eyebrows, and hair would all be burned away, making a fool of himself. In the end, not only did Xiao Chun not make a fool of himself, but he even created a magnificent scene of 10 connected suns, so bright that everyone could not open their eyes. The golden crows turned into motes of sparks and slowly faded away. The tavern returned to normal. Xiao Chen, who was preparing to drink, looked at the sky and frowned. Then, he quietly withdrew his left hand from the table and spread it out. A weak suction came from it. Without anyone noticing, all the scattered motes of sparks in the air gathered together. "Friend, this wine is ready to drink already," that waiter smiled somewhat embarrassedly. Clearly, he worried that Xiao Chen would blame him, so he did not remind him. When all the sparks gathered, a resplendent golden light appeared on Xiao Chen's left hand. In that instant, he clenched his fist tightly, not letting any light leak out. "Ao Jiao, it looks like this Mo clan's young miss is not just pretty. Why do you care so much? Quickly drink. Just looking at this thousand-year flame makes me want to drink it. Quickly drink. Quickly drink. Tell me what it tastes like," Ao Jiao urged as she stared at the wine cup. Xiao Chun smiled bitterly and helplessly. "That's fine, I'll drink first." Chapter 10:21. Xiao Chun really wanted to know what this wine called the Thousand-Year Flame tasted like as well. Xiao Chun picked up the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Compared to its fiery name, this wine felt extremely cool when it entered his mouth. An icy chill instantly spread throughout his body. From the inside out, it felt like his body had fallen into an ice cave. This extreme change stimulated his entire body and made him tremble. The cold was too strong, covering up the wine's taste at first. Just as one was about to forget it, the wine's taste slowly permeated the body. The intoxicating fragrance was like a clump of gentle fire, slowly pushing its way into Xiao Chen's body, slowly dispelling the bone-chilling cold. The fire was neither fast nor slow as it slowly dispelled the cold. Together with the intoxicating wine fragrance, it slowly conquered the cultivator's heart. This was an extreme enjoyment. Xiao Chun could not help leaning back in his chair in satisfaction. Then, he held the dreamy purple crystal cup in his right hand and closed his eyes. As the ice and fire clashed, time seemed to move extremely slowly. When the cold chi was completely dispelled, his body felt like it had been ignited by the flame, reaching the peak of enjoyment. Thousand-year flame. This clump of flame truly burned for 1,000 years without extinguishing. The instant the cold chi was completely dispelled, it reached great heights, reaching the peak. The flame was ferocious, and the aftereffects of the wine burst forth. Xiao Chun felt boundlessly carefree. His sweat soaked through his clothes. This was practically a perfect cup of wine. In this half-drunken, half-awake state, Xiao Chun discovered that the will of ice in his sea of consciousness had silently strengthened. It was like it had undergone some kind of tempering, improving significantly. The cold chi spread in his sea of consciousness, allowing him to maintain a trace of consciousness and not fall over from the aftereffects. Great wine. The 1,000-year flame truly lives up to its name. Xiao Chun could not help blurting this out when he opened his eyes. The intoxicating red on his face made him blush involuntarily. The manservant smiled and said, "Ha, that is natural. My clan's young miss personally brewed this 1,000-year flame. Even if others knew the method, they would not be able to brew it. Indeed, without her conditions, even the most incredible master brewer would be helpless," Xiao Chun thought to himself. Xiao Chun raised his head and glanced at the manservant. Then, he looked at the remaining 9 cups of 1,000-year flame on the table. He could not help but laugh helplessly. The manservant was clearly tricking him. If a normal person drank 1 cup, they would be drunk. If they drank 3 cups in a row, they could be considered a man. If they drank 10 cups in a row, he reckoned that even a great grandmaster would collapse. Ordinary people would not buy so many cups in one go. The manservant took advantage of Xiao Chun being an outsider and did not say anything. However, this was precisely why Xiao Chun discovered some secrets that he was very interested in. Even so, he would be fine even if he drank more than 100 cups. Bang! Before the manservant's horrified gaze, Xiao Chun emptied the remaining 9 cups of 1,000-year flame in one go. Xiao Chun calmed himself down and carefully sensed it. He discovered that what he saw earlier was not an illusion. His will of ice was indeed slowly growing stronger. The chen's 9 cups of the chen as you year flame. Xiao Chun could not help rejoicing in his heart. This was truly an unexpected gain. He immediately asked, "Do you still have more 1,000-year flame?" "Another 10. The waiter was a little stunned. After a long time, he reacted and said with an embarrassed smile, "Your alcohol capacity is really shocking. I've been in this tavern for so many years, but I've never seen anyone who can drink 3 cups in a row without collapsing. But it's a pity that there's no more of this wine. I'll sell you the last 10 cups. When Miss is in the mood, she'll sell it." What a pity! Xiao Chun discovered that with the aid of these 10 cups of 1,000-year flame, his will of ice was approaching small perfection. Just 1 more cup and he would be able to reach the minor accomplishment realm, saving him a few years of time. The other martial artists in the tavern were also shocked by Xiao Chun's heroic act of drinking 10 cups in a row. Amazing! If it weren't for his martial monarch cultivation, I would have thought that he was a big shot. I heard that if those talented youths want to meet with young Miss alone, the first test is to drink 3 cups of 1,000-year flame. Even the outstanding talents of the Cloud Sea domain, who are inferior-grade martial sages, do not dare to drink 3 cups in a row, making them very depressed. This fellow drank 10 cups in a row. This is really unheard of. I wonder what will happen to Miss Mo Chin. What can he do? He is just an inferior-grade martial monarch. He cannot even compare to us. Does he think he can compare to the outstanding talents of our Cloud Sea domain? After a long time, all sorts of envious and disdainful voices filled the tavern. Xiao Chun smiled and ignored them. Even if he wanted to, he could not do anything. After drinking 10 cups of 1,000-year flame, his legs had already turned soft. If not for the will of ice, he would have collapsed long ago. Young Master Xing is here. 2 old men with extraordinary auras wearing embroidered clothes slowly walked into the tavern. The Mo clan cultivators immediately noticed them. The Mo clan cultivators all stood up and greeted them respectfully. Martial sages could become Mo clan elders, possessing extraordinary statuses. This young Master Xing was very young, but he was already an inferior-grade martial sage. With one look, it was clear that he was an outstanding talent of the Cloud Sea domain. Even the 2 servants beside him were peak martial monarchs. His clan was definitely extraordinary. Xiao Chun sized up the Mo clan cultivators before withdrawing his gaze. While everyone's gazes shifted away from Xiao Chun, he slowly opened his tightly clenched left hand. A squarish ice crystal appeared in Xiao Chun's hand. Then he used it to seal that spot of golden light, concealing its light. Even so, at such a close distance, he could feel the extreme yang heat. Just a little flame could give him such a feeling. If he could obtain a clump of this flame, how powerful would it be? Ao Jiao, you figured something out, right? Ao Jiao's eyes lit up in the immortal spirit ring. She exclaimed in pleasant surprise, "This is the solar true flame." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "It is even denser than the pure yang qi of my purple thunder true fire. This Mo clan's young Mrs. Ancestor is not simple. She probably has the solar true flame's origin flame." Given the Mo clan's strength, it was clearly impossible for them to obtain the solar true flame. Xiao Chen felt that even if he reached the level of the blue-robed emperor, he would not dare to barge into that blazing sun. It was even more impossible for a rank 6 noble clan to do so. The solar true flame in her could only be inherited. This young Miss Mo hid it very well. If not for the golden crows soaring and forming the scene of 10 connected suns, the golden crow egg in the dragon phoenix cauldron in Xiao Chen's body would not have reacted. Even with Xiao Chen's eyesight, he would not have discovered that this young miss had infused the solar true flame into the brewing of the 1,000-year flame. However, this wine was indeed a rare wine. Since ancient times, no expert had ever thought of using the sun's true fire to make such a small thing as wine brewing. Xiao Chen was not sure why Xiao Chen could use the 1,000-year flame to raise his will of ice. However, he was sure that the 1,000-year flame contained the solar true flame. Ao Jiao giggled and said, "In that case, this young miss is really your lucky star. Your golden crow egg can hatch while you are still alive." This is not easy. With my current strength, even if I used the strength of my physical body, it would still be difficult for me to deal with a rank 6 noble clan. Furthermore, this clan might have some hidden cards. Snatching it by force will not work. I do not like this method either. Xiao Chen shook his head. He felt that the situation was somewhat thorny. Then, he continued, if we use other things to exchange, not to mention whether the other party is willing or not, without sufficient strength, if we expose our treasures, the other party might not have any malicious intent. If a martial monarch took a treasure that even a great grandmaster-level martial sage did not have and ran off to trade with someone else, the consequences would be obvious. What should we do, then? I'll take it one step at a time. The most important thing now is to recover my strength. I'll look for that manservant first and ask about the situation in the Cloud Sea domain. Xiao Chun called the manservant over again and gave him some benefits. Finally, he obtained the information he wanted. The ruler of the Shattered Cloud Sea was the Shattered Cloud City's city lord, who had the cultivation of a blue-robed emperor. Every year, the thousands of islands in the vicinity had to pay a large sum of resources to Shattered Cloud City. As for the 7 small sea domains in the Broken Cloud Sea and the Chaotic Cloud Sea, the situation was similar. They were all ruled by a blue-robed emperor. Although the Shattered Cloud Sea's Mo clan was only a rank 6 noble clan, they excelled at refining. In terms of status and influence, they were even greater than several rank 7 sects in the Shattered Cloud Sea. This time, the Mo clan had promised the Shattered Cloud City's city lord to refine a set of sage-grade secret treasures for his young master. Hence, they had gone out to sea to search for raw materials. There were also some scattered pieces of information. After asking around, Xiao Chen intended to leave. However, when Xiao Chen turned around, his gaze happened to meet that young Master Xing's. The other party's gaze was hostile, like he was waiting for Xiao Chen to turn around. Xiao Chen did not want to cause trouble, so he immediately left. When he passed by that young Master Xing, the other party said, "I heard that you drank 10 cups of 1,000-year flame in one go. Your alcohol tolerance is astonishing. Tell me the secret." "It is just drinking wine. It depends on the person." "There is no secret," Xiao Chen said in a hurry before continuing on his way. However, 2 of young Master Xing's servants blocked Xiao Chen's path. "Did I say you could leave? I'll give you 3,000 black astral coins." "Tell me the secret," young Master Xing said indifferently as he put down the wine cup in his hand. The originally calm atmosphere, upon hearing young Master Xing's words, caused the tavern to become lively once again. I heard that young Master Xing always wanted to meet with young Miss alone. However, he could not get past 3 cups of 1,000-year flame. This unknown fellow is going to be unlucky. Young Master Xing is a peak expert of our Shattered Cloud Sea's younger generation. He is even on the Cloud Sea domain's proud son of heaven ranking, ranking in the top 20. It is best to be low-key. He is clearly only a martial monarch, yet he is so ostentatious. It is impossible for him not to be unlucky. The Mo clan cultivators looked at Xiao Chen with sympathy. It was easy to imagine the outcome of a martial monarch facing an inferior-grade martial sage like young Master Xing. The two peak martial monarchs stood in front, looking at Xiao Chen coldly with an aloof air. "Brat, our young master told you to hand over the secret, so hand it over. We gave you face, but you do not want it. You will not repent until you see the coffin. You are seeking a beating." When the taller servant on the right saw young Master Xing give him a look, he raised his hand and sent a slap at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's quintessence surged, and a flame burned on his right hand. If this slap landed, it would not be as simple as leaving a palm print. Chapter 1022. The Mo clan cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too much. Even if he did not give you the secret, there was no need to be so ruthless. Without his cultivation, anyone could bully him. Even a peak martial monarch dared to make a move against him. When Xiao Chen kicked, no one saw how he did it. A crisp sound came from the right knee of the servant who attacked him, and he let out a miserable cry of pain. The quintessence in that servant's body turned chaotic, and he lost his balance. Then he fell to one knee. Horror flashed in the eyes of the other servant. Just as he was about to make a move, he discovered that Xiao Chen's palm had pressed on his chest at some point in time. Before that servant could react, he saw Xiao Chen push gently. His ribs broke, and he flew back like a sandbag. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly, so fast that no one could react. By the time everyone's gazes returned to Xiao Chen was already at the entrance of the tavern. Before he knew it, he had already walked to the entrance of the tavern and was about to leave. "Damn it! How dare you injure the people of my Xing clan? Are you tired of living?" "Pooting!" Young Master Xing reacted and soared into the air from his seat. He instantly drew a sword flickering with a cold light from his waist, and an indistinct sword light appeared. Strands of heavenly sage laws appeared behind young Master Xing, wildly absorbing the spiritual energy of the world. This made his sword strike, which contained his rage, look very mighty. It looked like young Master Xing's aura was boundless, surging with killing intent. It looked like this lightning-fast sword strike would pierce through Xiao Chen's back. If it did, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Suddenly, Xiao Chen stopped and turned around. In that instant, countless trajectories of young Master Xing's sword appeared in his eyes. In one breath, Xiao Chen simulated thousands of variations of the trajectory of this sword strike in his mind. No matter how the other party changed his moves, Xiao Chen had control over everything. Bang! When the sword light was only 3 centimeters away from Xiao Chen, 2 fingers suddenly appeared and clamped down on young Master Xing's sword strike, which was filled with rage and might. Unexpectedly, an inferior-grade martial sage's sword strike was easily countered by Xiao Chen. It was like a child throwing a tantrum. The cultivators in the tavern were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Was this the strength of a martial monarch? Was this still the same guy who had fallen on the deck like a dog eating shit 7 days ago? It was completely beyond their imagination and not within the scope of their understanding and acceptance. Young Master Xing, who was in the air, revealed a look of fear. He used all his strength to pull out the sword, but to no avail. Getting physical over such a trivial matter. "Young Master, you probably don't know how high the sky is outside." Xiao Chen snorted coldly. The 5-dragon force in his body roared, thunder sounded, dragon roared unceasingly, a terrifying aura burst out from his body. Xiao Chen's clothes fluttered and his hair fluttered. Before he even used his strength, just the vast aura of the 5-dragon force shattered the sword in young Master Xing's hand. Young Master Xing vomited blood and went flying back. Young Master Xing fell to the ground and looked at Xiao Chen in horror. He muttered, "Advancing sage of the physical body, you are an outstanding talent of the advancing sage of the physical body." Xiao Chen still held the 2-centimeter sword tip in his right hand. He glanced at young Master Xing and slowly withdrew his killing qi. In the end, Xiao Chen was not a bloodthirsty person. Such a minor character would not be able to cause any big waves. Xiao Chun flicked his finger, and the sword tip flew out and stabbed into the ground beside young Master Xing. This frightened young Master Xing into trembling, his face drained of blood. There was complete silence, no one could say anything. The entire tavern was silent. The manservant who served Xiao Chun wine earlier opened his mouth wide, not knowing what to do. He had actually underestimated such a person and even planned to watch him make a fool of himself. Such a person could casually send young Master Xing flying. If young Master Xing had gotten angry, wouldn't he? Thinking of this, Xiao Chun could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Damn, that startled me. This world is really unpredictable. Unexpectedly, a random martial monarch is an outstanding talent of the advancing sage of the physical body. I knew it. How can someone who can drink 10 cups of thousand-year flame be a minor character? There must be a trick to the test that young Miss set. What do you think? How does this person compare to the demonic geniuses of the Shattered Cloud Sea's younger generation? Can he compare to the Shattered Cloud City's young city lord? What kind of joke is this? Young Master Xing could last 3 moves against the young city lord. However, he could not even last half a move against this person. In the entire Cloud Sea domain, there are no more than 5 youths who can compare to this person. The Mo clan cultivators chattered endlessly. However, they suddenly thought of such a person appearing on their worship. If he harbored malicious intent, it would be very dangerous. Quickly, informed Steward Wang. Someone in the tavern immediately rushed to Steward Wang's residence in a fluster. In the control room of the Purple Warship, the 4 martial sages of the Mo clan and Uncle Wang, who was a peak superior grade martial sage, all gathered together as though they were facing a great enemy. Young Miss, this old man was blind. I really did not expect this person to be an expert of the advancing sage of the physical body, Uncle Wang said sullenly. Young Miss, give the order. I am willing to personally make a move and chase this person away. Mo Chen, who wore a veil and had an exquisite figure, did not seem surprised by this. Her eyes alone could mesmerize anyone. Mo Chen waved her smooth, jade-like hand and said, "There's no need. This person should not have any malicious intent. Tell me what he did in the tavern first." Uncle Wang answered honestly, "He ordered 10 cups of thousand-year flame and created the scene of 10 connected suns. Then, he drank 10 cups in one go." When Mo Chen heard this, a strange look flashed in her eyes. However, it quickly vanished as she waited for Uncle Wang to continue. After that, he asked the manservant about the distribution of the factions in the Cloud Sea domain and the strength of the ruler of our Shattered Star Sea. He also asked about our Mo clan. Why did he ask about our Mo clan? With the strength of such a person, why would he care about a rank 6 clan? Mo Chen muttered to herself, finding it strange. Could he have figured something out? Young Miss should already know what happened after that. That young Master Xing drank 1 cup of thousand-year flame and nearly got drunk. Then he suddenly saw a person drink 10 cups in a row and not get drunk. He immediately tried to force out the secret and ended up provoking this person to make a move. Mo Chen's thoughts were very sharp. She pointed out the crux of the problem and asked, "Are you sure that he only made a move against young Master Xing after asking the manservant?" "I'm sure. However, what does that matter?" Uncle Wang asked, feeling confused. Mo Chen entered deep thought. No one could make out her expression behind the white veil. After a while, she said, "In that case, there is nothing else. I will go and meet him alone. There is no need for you all to follow." The others felt confused, feeling somewhat confused. They asked worriedly, "Old Wang, can we let young Miss go alone? With that person's strength, I think that even if we work together, we will have a 50-50 chance of victory." Indeed. Although young Master Xing just advanced to Martial Sage, he was defeated by someone in half a move. That is too much. Uncle Wang sighed and said, "Let's leave it to young Mississippi." This time, he really accidentally picked up a huge dragon. However, it is hard to say whether this is a blessing or a curse. Young Master Xing is just a minor character. There is no need to expose his strength, right? Ao Jiao asked, feeling confused after they returned to the room. Right now, Xiao Chen's heavenly sage laws were shattered, and the magic energy in his sea of consciousness was sparse. However, he still had his physical body. When he circulated 5 dragon force, he could exert 25,000 tons of force. Even if a Grandmaster-level martial sage came, he would only be on par with Xiao Chen. The possibility of him completely suppressing Xiao Chen was very small. If not for Xiao Chen's magic energy having not recovered yet, his heavenly sage laws were shattered, and he could not execute deities descending. He would be able to kill a Grandmaster-level martial sage with one punch. Young Master Xing was just an inexperienced person who just advanced to martial sage. Xiao Chen only needed to use 1 dragon force to force him to retreat. However, in the tavern, Xiao Chen had used the aura of 5 dragon force to send the other party flying. This confused Ao Jiao. After all, Xiao Chen now had many enemies. The old subordinates of Neptune were probably searching for him everywhere. The people of Zodiac Hall were definitely searching for him as well. The loose cultivators who coveted the treasures on him were also searching for him. He should have been more low-key. For the sake of hiding his identity, the clear wind robes that the Blue Dragon King's insignia had turned into azure had been replaced with ordinary clothes. Xiao Chen had also taken off the iconic Neptune headscarf long ago. This was to reduce the chances of his identity being exposed in the sea region. Now, Xiao Chen did the exact opposite. This was very puzzling. Xiao Chen took out the blue crystal again and looked at the solar true flames sealed in ice. He said, "You will understand in a while." "Oh, right, let me take a look at the recipe for the medicinal pill that recovers law energy." The medicinal pill was called the Heavenly Origin Pill. Ao Jiao had already written down the recipe. It was a medicinal pill that she had come into contact with when she followed the Thunder King. The Heavenly Origin Pill reached King grade. Its ingredients were extremely precious and required a lot of money. To Xiao Chen, money was not a big deal at the moment. What was rare was a Grandmaster alchemist who could refine the Heavenly Origin Pill. Xiao Chen only knew the immortal epic's alchemy methods and not the orthodox alchemy methods of the martial epic. Even if Xiao Chen spent a lot of money and found the ingredients, it would be pointless if there was no one to refine the Heavenly Origin Pill. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Grandmaster alchemists were not easy to find. "Someone is coming," Ao Jiao said softly from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen scanned with his spiritual sense. She came earlier than he expected. This Mo clan's young miss was indeed a smart person. That was right. Xiao Chen made a move in the tavern to lure this girl over. Be it the solar true flame or the pendant on this girl's chest, Xiao Chen was determined to obtain them. From the manservant's words, Xiao Chen gained a rough understanding that the Mo clan's situation in the Shattered Cloud Sea was not good. Because of Miss Mo's beauty, she faced a lot of trouble. Although she dealt with them with ingenious methods, it was not a long-term solution. Since that was the case, there was room for negotiation. Xiao Chen could help her deal with these problems in exchange for the pendant on her chest and temporarily borrow the solar true flame. If that was not enough, he could add something else. If Xiao Chen wanted to negotiate, he naturally had to reveal some of his strength first. It would be best if the other party spoke first. In any case, Xiao Chen did not have any good ideas on how to borrow the lunar true flame and obtain the pendant on her chest. He might as well give it a try first. If he succeeded, that would be for the best. If not, he would think of something else. After Xiao Chen put away the alchemic recipe, he raised his hand and waved. The door opened with a creak. The veiled Mo Chen happened to be standing outside, about to knock. Chapter 1023. "Miss Imobu, please come in." Mo Chen drifted over and looked at Xiao Chen with her gem-like eyes. Xiao Chen wore ordinary clothes, and his long hair was unkempt, casually draped over his shoulders. She could not see any precious secret treasures or ornaments that could reveal his identity. Xiao Chen's cultivation was indeed only that of a martial monarch. However, such a person had beaten up young Master Xing to the point where he could not even retaliate. Mo Chen compared Xiao Chen to the outstanding talents of the great seas that she had seen. She had seen many true outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. They were all young, and they were all superior-grade martial sages. There were even some geniuses of the Zodiac Hall who were Grandmaster-level martial sages. Compared to those people, Xiao Chen's aura was clearly different. There was no trace of the arrogance of a genius. However, Xiao Chen's eyes were boundlessly deep, unfathomable and unfathomable. Young master does not seem surprised at Emo Chen's appearance, Emo Chen said softly. Xiao Chen smiled and said, I was the one who lured you here in the first place. How could I be surprised? Sit. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and a chair flew into the air and landed firmly beside Emo Chen. The two sat down, and Emo Chen took out the pendant around her neck. There was a red remnant white flower ornament hanging from the green leaf-like necklace. It was bright in color and gave off a beautiful glow. However, the feeling it gave off was one of uncontrollable grief. In the language of flowers, the remnant white flower represented passionate love. However, this remnant white flower before Xiao Chen was a wilted flower. At its most beautiful moment, it wilted and withered, no longer passionate. The lover was gone, leaving only grief lingering in the heart. Before Xiao Chen's eyes, the remnant white flower gave off a flowing light. A strong wind blew, and crystalline petals flew out. The strong wind was merciless, and the remnant white flower was like blood, piercing one's heart and filling it with grief. That's right. This is definitely refined from the grief throne. It is horrifying enough to affect my emotions. If I get affected by this pendant in battle, I will be consigned to eternal damnation if I get careless. Xiao Chen stabilized his emotions and raised his guard. You boarded the Purple Cloud ship for this broken flower pendant, right? Given Emo Chen's intelligence, if she still could not guess why Xiao Chen had been staring at her chest back then, she would really be living up to her reputation. Broken flower pendant? Could it be that the other party did not know that this was the original form of the grief throne, forged by the ancient era's paragon, the evil king? This is a pendant passed down in my Emo clan. In terms of usage, it is even more valuable than some strong king-grade secret treasures. Emo Chen continued, if young master wants this pendant, it is not impossible. Just be my bodyguard for 1 year. After 1 year, I will hand it over to young master. A year of bodyguard meant that he had to ensure the other party's safety for a year. Xiao Chen replied calmly, it is not impossible for me to be your bodyguard for a year. However, a pendant alone is not worth me staying in the Emo clan for a year. Emo Chen frowned slightly and said, what bold words. A sage body that can bring out 5 dragon force is barely equal to a Grandmaster-level martial sage. In the Shattered Cloud Sea, although Grandmaster-level martial sages are strong, they are not at the peak. My Emo clan does not fear Grandmaster-level martial sages either. If not for the situation forcing me, I would not have made such a decision. After all, this broken flower pendant is an item passed down in my Emo clan. Emo Chen's tone was very forceful, even somewhat angry. She felt that Xiao Chen overestimated himself. Using the broken flower pendant to hire the other party for a year already cost him a lot. Yet he was still not satisfied. Xiao Chen clearly grasped the other party's tone. He smiled and did not argue. Very well, you are right. I am only as strong as a martial sage. How about this? I will agree to your request first. However, how about we make a bet? What bet? If one day, you feel that using the broken flower pendant to hire me for a year is a good deal, then agree to another request of mine. Of course, this request will not cross the line. It will not violate the most basic etiquette. Under the veil, Emo Chen's lips curled up slightly. She smiled confidently and said, you are extraordinarily arrogant. Even those genius disciples of Zodiac Hall would not speak to me like this. I'll bet with you. This girl was indeed someone who had seen the world. No wonder she was so disdainful of that young Master Xing compared to the disciples of Zodiac Hall. The outstanding youths of the Cloud Sea domain were not worth mentioning. However, what were the disciples of Zodiac Hall in Xiao Chen's eyes? Even the top female disciple of the Moon Palace had to flee while covering her face. Xiao Chen, you have really suffered a great loss this time. In less than half a year, you will recover your strength. At that time, your heavenly sage laws will immediately take form. Together with Neptune's crown, even a regular blue-robed emperor would not be a match for you. After Emo Chen left, Ao Jiao smiled gently. I have to obtain the waning flower pendant. However, in her hands, she can immediately destroy it with a thought. I might as well agree to it first. After all, she will definitely lose the bet. At that time, it will not be a loss if I borrow the solar true flame. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said indifferently. The matter of Xiao Chen becoming Emo Chen's bodyguard quickly spread like a whirlwind throughout the entire worship. That's impossible. This was the first thing all the Emo clan cultivators said when they heard the news. Miss Emo Chen's standards had always been very high. She had rejected many outstanding young talents of the Cloud Sea domain, even those outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. She had even rejected them mercilessly. However, this was the truth. Xiao Chen had indeed become Emo Chen's bodyguard. Miss, this person's origins are unknown. Isn't it too unreliable to make him a bodyguard? Uncle Wang said anxiously to Emo Chen in the control room. Is that so? Does Uncle Wang feel that there is a better candidate? Uncle Wang, you should be very clear on the intentions of those people who approached me in the Cloud Sea domain, Emo Chen countered. Steward Wang was speechless. These people were just drooling over her beauty and the Emo clan's unique refining techniques. While their origins were very clean, their intentions were not that simple. Aren't there still the few outstanding young masters of the Southern Sea? I think the disciples of the Zodiac Hall and the Southern Sea King's scions are pretty good. Emo Chen said sullenly, these people are indeed pretty good. Their family backgrounds are vast and do not care about the current Emo clan. However, they are too strong. If they are tempted by benefits, the consequences will be worse. This person is the most suitable candidate. His goal is clear and I know what he wants. His strength is also passable. However, he is somewhat arrogant and wants to make a bet with me. Bet? What bet? Uncle Wang asked out of curiosity. Emo Chen stopped speaking and changed the topic. Nothing much, just a bet that he will definitely lose. Uncle Wang, how many more days until we reach Starry Cloud Island? 7 days. It looks like the Lu clan's people will not appear. We can successfully complete the city lord's request this time. We cannot continue like this. We should think of a way to resolve this once and for all. Emo Chen did not show any joy on her face. How could Uncle Wang not think the same way? He sighed and said, it will be difficult. The Lu clan's refining skills are not as strong as ours. However, the clan head is a great Grandmaster level martial sage. Furthermore, he has the largest merchant association of the Cloud Sea domain, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, behind him. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire purple warship shook intensely. Emo Chen's expression changed, and she waved her hand. Formations flickered in the control room. Formation markings immediately spread out on the ground, walls, and inside the control room. The entire space turned resplendent. A water screen appeared around Emo Chen, showing the situation around the purple warship. 4 black warships descended from the sky like specters and surrounded the purple warship. Beams of light from the ancient demonic energy cannons bombarded the purple warship continuously. They really picked the right time. In another day, the purple warship would enter the range of Starry Cloud Island. Just when everyone heaved a sigh of relief, the Lu clan's people finally charged out. I'll go out and take a look. Right after Steward Wang spoke, he quickly left the control room and went to the deck. The normally empty deck was now filled with Emo clan cultivators. All of them had grave expressions and had drawn their weapons long ago. Killing chi radiated from their foreheads. Old Wang, we meet again. Call your clan's young miss out. Opposite the purple warship was a tall, wolf-headed warship. 2 black-clad cultivators, one old and one young, stood on the wolf-headed warship. The youth on the right smiled evilly at Emo Chen. The old man beside him gave off an indistinct aura. Unexpectedly, it was the aura of a Grandmaster-level martial sage. 3 old men walked out of the other 3 wolf-headed warships. A strong wind blew. They were all superior-grade martial sages. Including the 2 old men beside the youth, The Lu clan had a total of 3 superior-grade martial sages and 1 grandmaster-level martial sage. In terms of strength, they definitely surpassed the Mo clan's cultivators. Uncle Wang could not be bothered with this person. He analyzed his countermeasures. The Lu clan's people exceeded his expectations. Aside from the clan head, who was a great grandmaster-level martial sage, the peak combat power of the Lu clan had practically come out in full force. This was completely different from the small skirmishes of the past. Were the two clans going to start a decisive battle? The Mo clan and the Lu clan focused on refining. There was a lot of competition between them in the Shattered Cloud Sea. Normally, there would be small skirmishes. However, they were far from falling out with each other. The Mo clan was not as strong as the Lu clan. However, if they fought indiscriminately, the Lu clan would not be able to bear it. That would only benefit the other factions that were watching the excitement. Seeing that Uncle Wang ignored him, the black-clad youth smiled and said, "Was my voice too soft? In that case, come closer." This youth was called Lu Feng, the first young master of the Lu clan. His cultivation was pretty good, stronger than young Master Shing's. Bush, 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 bush. Lu Feng and the old man beside him soared into the air and landed on the purple warship's deck at the same time. The other 3 Mo clan elders quickly followed. Instantly, the Mo clan cultivators on the purple warship felt like they were facing a great enemy. Before the other party's strong aura, they could not help taking a step back. The 4 elders of the Mo family took a step forward and stood together with Uncle Wang, confronting the experts of the Lu family. Although they all looked like martial sages, the strongest of the 4 Mo clan elders was only a medial-grade martial sage. Only Uncle Wang was a superior-grade martial sage. Their aura was far inferior to the Lu clan's. Lu Feng said sullenly, "I can't be bothered to speak nonsense with you. Hand over the cyclic meteor iron." Chapter 1024. Dream on. Uncle Wang replied rudely, "If you have the guts, then kill everyone on our ship. At worst, we will just die together. In any case, if you spoil the city lord's residence's matter, the Mo clan will not have a good ending either. Your old bones are really tough. Since I rushed over this time, I am not afraid of your Mo clan dying together." Lu Feng smiled sinisterly. The Grandmaster-level martial sage Lu clan's first elder stepped forward and clenched his right hand into a fist. Electricity flickered on his fist, crackling endlessly. A huge eagle image encased the old man. When he punched, the eagle spread its wings. The electric light on the old man's body flowed down his arm. The instant the eagle spread its wings, horrifying electric energy burst out of his fist. When facing this lightning-fast punch, Uncle Wang crossed his arms and blocked it in the time it took for a spark to fly. Then he went flying back like a cannonball with a loud bang. Blood leaked out of Uncle Wang's mouth, and his feet sank. After he landed, he staggered a few steps back. At this moment, the difference between a Grandmaster-level martial sage and a superior-grade martial sage became clear. All the Mo clan cultivators felt horror spread in their hearts. At some point in time, Xiao Chen had arrived in the control room. Together with Mo Chen, he saw the situation clearly through the water screen. Mo Chen said softly, "A Grandmaster-level martial sage. This is really problematic. Even if the Lu clan falls out with them, they will still spoil the mission that the City Lord's residence gave us." "Are the consequences of failing the mission very severe?" Xiao Chen asked. "The City Lord's residence is the sky of the Shattered Cloud Sea. The City Lord is the blue-robed emperor. He is a major character who can stir up a storm with a raise of his hand. If he angers the City Lord, the consequences will be severe." "Strange. It is clearly the Lu clan that caused your mission to fail. The City Lord should be looking for trouble with the Lu clan." "That won't happen. The City Lord only cares about the results and not the process. He never interferes with the conflicts between the factions. We just have to pay him the resources on time." Mo Chen took out a spatial ring and handed it to Xiao Chen. "Help me hand the cyclic meteor iron to the other party. Later, we will think of a way to deal with the City Lord's questions." He didn't expect the lady before him to be so decisive, letting go of him as soon as it was time. Xiao Chen did not take the ring. He smiled faintly and said, "Actually, a bodyguard can help you solve the problem in front of you. Of course, the prerequisite is that you admit defeat." Under the veil, Chen said calmly, "With your strength, you can barely deal with that Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, there are still 3 superior-grade martial sages. Housekeeper Wang can deal with 1, and the remaining 2 can sweep through the entire warship. Don't do anything rash. I asked you to be my bodyguard because I have something important to do. Don't tell me what to do now," Chen said anxiously when she saw that Xiao Chen was not going to take her ring. "Remember to accept your defeat. I'll help you settle this trouble." With a tap of his foot, Xiao Chen's figure flashed and disappeared from the control room. After sending Uncle Wang flying with a single punch, the great elder of the Lu clan did not stop moving. He transformed into an eagle, and as he attacked, he spread his wings and soared into the sky. He was completely suppressing Uncle Wang. In less than 10 moves, Uncle Wang was severely injured and weak. "Come, let's go to the control room. I'll go and look for the Mo clan's young miss personally." When Lu Feng saw Uncle Wang stubbornly refusing to admit defeat, he did not say anything even after being beaten up so miserably. Then he headed for the warship's hold. Bush, bush, bush. Upon hearing this, the originally fearful Mo clan cultivators all moved to block the warship's hold. They pointed their weapons at Lu Feng's group with determined expressions on their faces. With such subordinates, it was no wonder that Chen was willing to give up on the cyclic meteor iron rather than leave alone. "Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless," Lu Feng said coldly with a frown. He had not expected the Mo clan cultivators to be so unyielding. He frowned and said coldly, "The Lu clan is too much of a bully. The Lu family has gone too far. Let's fight it out with them." Someone shouted, and a group of Mo clan cultivators charged over. "What a joke! What is the point of having more people?" Lu Feng snorted coldly, and the 4 people beside him attacked at the same time. With a Grandmaster-level martial sage leading the way, when the 4 worked together, no one could block a single move. Before absolute strength and a tenacious fighting spirit, miracles could not happen. Lu Feng's group easily pushed forward. Miserable cries rang out endlessly. The many Mo clan cultivators were severely injured and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Not long after, there was no one left standing on the deck. Lu Feng smiled coldly and said, "Just a bunch of trash. You want to block this young master's path? Go. If you want to seek trouble for the young miss, you will have to ask this old man first." Uncle Wang, who was lying on the ground heavily injured, burst out with the last of his strength. He roared ferociously and charged at Lu Feng with bloodshot eyes. Uncle Wang's berserk aura and killing chi were startling. He pushed his heavenly sage laws to their limits in this full-power strike. When Lu Feng looked back, he was startled. If Uncle Wang's furious punch landed, given Lu Feng's cultivation, he would be severely injured on the spot. "You overestimate yourself." The Lu clan's first elder, who was beside Lu Feng, smiled, and a pair of wings made of electricity appeared on his back. The first elder folded his wings and stored up power. The electricity formed a pillar of light and soared into the sky. When Uncle Wang attacked, the first elder's wings suddenly unfurled. In that instant, resplendent electric light appeared. With a single punch, he sent the ferocious Uncle Wang flying backward. After Uncle Wang fell to the ground, he fainted. Blood flowed out of his mouth continuously. "Old Wang." Several Mo clan cultivators carried Uncle Wang up and glared at the Lu clan's first elder in grief and indignation. Lu Feng laughed loudly and said, "You scared this old man. In the end, you are still trash. Let's go." Lu Feng laughed loudly and took the lead, heading for the warship's hold. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, there was no need to hold back on this emotion. Not only did he want to obtain the cyclic meteor iron, but he also wanted the person. "Aren't you very virtuous? You even look down on the top 10 experts of the Cloud Sea domain. Let's see how virtuous you are going to be today." Bang! Suddenly, just as Lu Feng stepped into the warship's hold, A hand stretched out at lightning speed and grabbed his neck, raising him high in the air. Before Lu Feng could understand what was going on, he felt his breathing quicken. Blood covered his face, and a feeling of suffocation filled his entire body. Lu Feng grasped that iron-like hand with both hands as he flailed his legs in the air. However, it was to no avail. That hand did not move at all, grabbing his life veins. As long as it squeezed gently, it could break his soul and kill him. Horror spread throughout Lu Feng's entire body. However, he could not say anything and could only stomp his feet. Just a moment ago, Lu Feng was thinking about how to use this opportunity to obtain both the person and the riches, humiliating the famous top beauty of the Cloud's sea domain. In the next moment he was lifted up like a dead pig. The sudden turn of events did not give the 4 Lu clan elders any chance to react. They simply could not figure out when the Mo clan gained an expert who could suppress Lu Feng with one move. With such strength, why did he not show himself earlier? Could it be that he was waiting for this moment? Electric light lit up on the Lu clan's great grandmaster level martial sage. He immediately made a move to save Lu Feng. If you have the guts, go ahead and try. Xiao Chen, who was holding Lu Feng up, slowly walked out step by step. His face, which was originally covered by the shadows, now appeared before the 4 Lu clan elders. Xiao Chen's sinister words did not contain any emotion. No one doubted that as long as the Lu clan's first elder made any strange movements, Xiao Chen would mercilessly snap Lu Feng's neck. Let's talk things out. When Lu Feng saw Xiao Chen's grip on his neck increase, the pain on his face intensified. The Lu clan's first elder quickly dispersed the electric light on his body. Xiao Chen casually carried Lu Feng and walked forward step by step. Soon he arrived at the bow of the warship. As he looked at the Mo clan cultivator lying on the ground, his expression turned sullen. This group of people was a little too heavy-handed. The figures of the Lu clan cultivators leaped out of the 4 black mountain warships surrounding the warship. They held their bows and drew their bowstrings, aiming their arrows at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen swept his gaze over them coldly and said indifferently, "I will say this only once. Take away all your warships." Damn it! The Lu clan's first elder was so angry that his heart trembled. He could feel that Xiao Chen was only a martial monarch. However, at this moment, he spoke like he was the emperor of this place. However, the Lu clan's first elder did not dare to disobey. Lu Feng's life was in Xiao Chen's hands. If Lu Feng died here, it was easy to imagine how angry the clan head would be. The Lu clan's first elder's original plan was foolproof. However, they had not expected such a demonic genius to appear on the Mo clan's warship. Take away the warship. The Lu clan's first elder said through clenched teeth, his face filled with dissatisfaction. As the warship moved, the situation reversed. After Xiao Chen appeared, the insufferably arrogant Lu clan cultivators obediently gave way. The Mo clan cultivators on the deck could not react in time. First elder. A few Lu clan old men at the side called out anxiously as they watched the warship slowly move. The Lu clan's first elder waved his hand to stop them. Then he looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Friend, are you satisfied now? Can you put down my young master first? We can discuss this further. As long as you let go of my young master, we will leave immediately. In the future, we will come to Starry Cloud Island to personally apologize." Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Indeed, he did as the Lu clan's first elder said. He casually tossed Lu Feng onto the deck. Bang! Xiao Chen did not know how heavy this fall was. Die! The killing chi that had been accumulating in the Lu clan's first elder's eyes erupted at this moment. A pillar of electric light soared into the clouds as a pair of electric wings unfurled. A strong wind blew, and electricity tore through space. The moment Xiao Chen put down Lu Feng, the old man punched at lightning speed. Xiao Chen seemed to have anticipated this. In the time it took for a spark to fly, his right foot stomped heavily on Lu Feng's chest. Kasi! The sound of bones breaking resounded as Lu Feng cried out in agony. Whoosh! After hearing Lu Feng's miserable cry, the Lu clan's first elder's shockingly powerful punch came to a halt a meter away, not daring to make any more movements. When the Lu clan's first elder saw Lu Feng's clearly dented chest, his face could not help but twitch. This person is too ruthless. If the first elder had not stopped and used more force, he would have trampled Lu Feng to death. Do you really think that I am an idiot? Cut the crap. When we are near Starry Cloud Island, I will naturally let go of this trash. The four of you, scram immediately. Chapter 1025. Xiao Chen did not give the Lu clan elders any time to think. He said coldly, I will count to 3, and you will immediately disappear. If you do not believe me, you can bet with me. Let's see whether I dare to trample this trash to death or not. Let's go. Seeing Lu Feng's face contorted in pain and Xiao Chen's incomparably domineering attitude from the very start, the Lu clan elders did not dare to gamble. From the moment Xiao Chen appeared until now, no more than 15 minutes had passed. The Lu clan experts, even the Grandmaster-level martial sage, withdrew with just a few words from him. Such a scene dumbfounded not only the Mo clan cultivators on the deck but also Mo Chen, who was in the control room. Glancing at the unconscious Uncle Wang, Xiao Chen tossed out a bottle of sage-grade healing medicine and said, let him consume it. Otherwise, if this drags on, it might turn into a stubborn disease. As the purple warship advanced, the Lu clan's 4 elders chased anxiously on the water. All of them showed anxious expressions, but they could not do anything. After half a day, 3 large warships with the Mo clan's banner appeared at the limits of the group's vision. The Mo clan's reinforcements had arrived. Xiao Chen raised his foot and kicked Lu Feng, who was in so much pain that he was on the verge of death, into the air. The Lu clan old man quickly reached out and caught Lu Feng. When he saw the Mo clan's warship in the distance, he knew that the operation had failed and that he could not remain here for long. Might I ask for this friend's great name? The Lu clan's first elder asked in a quivering voice, a murderous intent surging in his eyes. Xiao Chen smiled and said, Wen Ziren will never change my name. If you have any grudges, just take it out on me, Wen Ziren. Since he could not use the alias Yi Chen in the heavenly starry ocean, Xiao Chen could only think of a random name. Wen Ziren will wait and see. The Lu clan's first elder snorted coldly and quickly led the others away. Brother Ziren, sorry, Xiao Chen smiled to himself. 1 Grandmaster-level martial sage and 3 superior-grade martial sages were forced back by Xiao Chen alone. They did not dare to get angry. The Mo clan cultivators felt extremely satisfied. This was especially so for Lu Feng, who was squealing like a dead pig when Xiao Chen stepped on him, feeling extremely pleased. Seeing that the Mo clan's 3 ships were about to leave, Xiao Chen didn't want to have too much contact with people, so he turned around and walked towards the cabin. Thank you, young Master Wen. I have wronged you for the past few days. Behind him, Uncle Wang, who had woken up with the help of the sage-grade healing medicine, apologized to Xiao Chen after he heard everyone's explanation. It's just a small matter. Old Wang, you don't have to be so polite. You're injured, so it's better for you to speak less. Xiao Chen stopped and replied. Then he continued on his way. When night fell, Xiao Chen opened his eyes from his cultivation. The magic power in his sea of consciousness was recovering bit by bit. His will of thunder had recovered somewhat. It was no longer as indistinct as before, unable to circulate at all. Xiao Chen's overall strength was recovering in an orderly fashion. The only problem was that his heavenly sage law's origin was shattered, causing him to remain stuck at martial monarch. The refinement of the heavenly origin pill was urgent. As long as Xiao Chen could reassemble his origin, his strength would instantly recover. His cultivation was still there. It was not that his cultivation had fallen. It was just that his origin was shattered, preventing him from using his heavenly sage laws. Once Xiao Chen's origin was reassembled, he might be able to comprehend the mysteries of the manifestation of heavenly sage laws. Xiao Chen stretched his legs and spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. Then he planned to go out for a walk. The changes of the day had already returned to normal. The purple warship had recovered to its original state. Xiao Chen walked to the bow. The deck was cold and quiet, there was no one on it. The waning moon hung alone, and the sky was filled with stars, glistening brightly. This night was very beautiful, and the stars were even more beautiful. Only the moon shone with a pale white light, covered by the starlight. It looked lonely, ethereal, and cold. As Xiao Chen looked at the distant moon, he felt excited. He felt like he was like this moon, far away from the many stars, walking alone on the lonely path of the martial Tao. It was like the will of the heavens. At this moment, Xiao Chen was like this pale moon, dim and lightless. He did not even dare to go to his conferred land. Xiao Chen was the Blue Dragon King, the descendant of the Qing Emperor, the one who swept through all the outstanding talents of the younger generation of the Kunlun continent. However, during the day, Xiao Chen had needed to threaten a grandmaster-level martial sage. If it were in the past, such a person would not even dare to speak loudly in front of him. "Young Master Wen, are you admiring the moon?" A clear and exquisite voice rang out. At some point in time, the Mo clan's young miss had appeared. Xiao Chen turned around and said, "Strange. There are so many stars in the sky, so resplendent. Why do you think that I am admiring the moon?" Mo Chen smiled faintly and said, "In that case, it looks like Mo Chen guessed wrong. I am willing to admit defeat for what happened during the day. If young Master Wen has any requests, you can state them. I need to borrow Miss Mo's solar true flame for half a year. I will return it to you after that." Shock flashed in Mo Chen's eyes. However, she quickly calmed down and said, "I do indeed have the solar true flame. It is not a problem to lend it to young Master Wen for half a year. However, may I ask about young Master Wen's true identity?" Xiao Chen replied indifferently, "My identity is Mrs. Bodyguard. For 1 year in the Cloud Sea domain, I will be Mrs. Bodyguard. With me around, no one can harm you." "You are bragging." The city lord of Shattered Cloud City squeezes the Mo clan every year, using all sorts of reasons to demand a set of peak sage grade secret treasures. "If I do not agree, my life will be in danger. You will be able to protect me." The 7 seas of the Cloud Sea domain were like 7 rank 8 sections. The city lord of each sea was at least as strong as the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen smiled and did not say anything. He only made a mental note of what Mo Chen said. Under the veil, Mo Chen laughed softly. "Ha! You are still as arrogant as before. However, don't worry. I will not offend such a strong enemy. 2 months from now, a treasure mountain at the bottom of the Cloud Sea domain will rise from the water. At that time, I would like you to accompany me as my bodyguard." "Treasure mountain at the bottom of the sea?" Mo Chen nodded and said, "That is the mountain of the Firely sect, an ancient sect. Legend has it that the Firely sect invented the secret treasures. Today's refining methods are all derived from this sect. Because it is located at the bottom of the sea, a deep abyss that no one can reach, aside from the Firely sect's remnants, there are natural treasures everywhere. Herb kings that are more than 10,000 years old and rare divine materials can be found there. The people of the Cloud Sea domain have always called it a treasure mountain. I am entering this time to find the Firely sect's supreme divine canon, the Book of Heavenly Works, so that the Mo clan will no longer be controlled by others." Firely sect. When Xiao Chen heard this, he was stunned. When he was in the lower realm, he had visited a branch of the Firely sect's remnants. He had obtained the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron in his body at that time. Several memories flooded his mind. Duan Muking, Chu Chaoyun, Hua Yunfei, Ji Changkong, and that person with an incredible body tempering technique. Now that 10 years had passed, these names, aside from Chu Chaoyun, were like smoke in the past, vanishing like smoke, never to appear again. Just like the countless stars in the sky, there was no end to them. As they flickered, it was unknown how many stars would shatter and disappear every minute. Only he was like the moon hanging high in the sky, watching the resplendent stars and the withering stars. Only the moon existed, only he existed. In the next 10 years, how many stars would disappear and how many new stars would rise? Would he still exist like the moon? "What's wrong?" Mo Chen suddenly asked when she discovered a rare confusion on Xiao Chen's face. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and changed the topic. "Why did you choose me? With your charm, those outstanding talents of the Southern Sea will not reject this invitation." "Because I have this." Chen smiled faintly, and a scarlet pendant covered in grief appeared in her smooth, jade-like hand. It flickered with a faint light. What's the use of having a pretty face in the face of absolute benefits? If I cannot take out something that can rival the Book of Heavenly Works, I will only be killing myself for nothing. The Book of Heavenly Works was a divine canon that every blacksmith dreamed of. Not only did it record the refining methods of all sorts of strong secret treasures, but it also recorded miraculous refining techniques. If Chen had this divine canon, she might be able to become a divine refiner that existed only in the ancient era. At that time, the insignificant Cloud Sea domain would no longer be able to trap a genius like her. I will also give you a copy of the Book of Heavenly Works, Chen said softly. There's no need. I do not have any talent for refining, nor do I have much time to study it. Since it is a divine canon, most people probably would not be able to understand it. It would be useless even if you gave it to me. I just want your grief pendant and the solar true flame. After Chen spoke, he opened his mouth and spat out. The dragon phoenix cauldron containing the golden crow egg slowly appeared. Chen turned his right eye and sucked in all the purple thunder true fire in the dragon phoenix cauldron. Fine cracks had already appeared on the surface of the golden crow egg. Based on this efficiency, it would take at least 10 years to hatch this golden crow egg. Only the solar true flame could increase the speed. Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. When Chen saw this cauldron, she was clearly astonished. There was even a trace of excitement in her eyes. Chen was not surprised. Any blacksmith would have such an expression when they saw the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The Firely sect only had 3 genuine Dragon Phoenix Cauldrons. These were the legendary divine cauldrons for refining. They could greatly increase the efficiency and success rate of refining. Unfortunately, they were covered in dust in Chen's hands. He had learned too many things. Saber techniques, immortal arts, cultivation techniques, and physical body, all of them took up a lot of time. Chen simply did not have much time to focus on refining. What kind of egg is this? This is the one that needs to be hatched with the solar true flame? Even though Chen was very experienced and knowledgeable, she could not think of the golden crow egg that was as hard as a rock. Chen nodded and said, "Send in the solar true flame. We will know what kind of egg it is after half a year." The golden crow was a legendary holy beast. Don't disappoint me after half a year. Chen opened her right hand. A spot of golden light appeared on her smooth, jade-like palm. She squinted, and the spot of golden light suddenly grew larger. The light was resplendent and resplendent. The night was as bright as day. A clump of blazing fire appeared on Chen's fair palm. It looked like she was holding a small sun. Chen looked carefully. The origin flame was about 6 centimeters in diameter. Unexpectedly, it was larger than his lunar true flame. Chen pressed his palm down and the solar true flame entered the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. The blazing fire spread throughout the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Chapter 1026. Night fell once more, and the light disappeared. Chen revealed an expression of joy as he carefully put away the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. "Many thanks. It's fine. I lost the bet." "Indeed, one grief pendant cannot hire you for a year," Chen said softly with a smile. Then Chen thought of something else. He asked, "Are there Grandmaster Alchemists in the Shattered Cloud Sea?" Chen answered, "Grandmaster Alchemists are not easy to find. I believe that it would be hard to find one in the entire Cloud Sea domain. Even if there were, the city lords of the various sea domains would treat them as honored guests. They would not easily refine medicinal pills for others." Indeed, it was a Chen guessed. Even in the Medicine God Valley, there were only 3 Grandmaster Alchemists. More accurately, there were only 2 now. Mr. Wei and Mr. Qin both died at Chen's hands. However, the Medicine God Valley had a divine grade alchemist. The death of 2 Grandmaster Alchemists was not a calamity. With the nurturing of the Medicine God, there would be no shortage of Grandmaster Alchemists. In the Cloud Sea domain, where the peak combat power was only the blue-robed Emperor, it would be difficult to find a Grandmaster Alchemist. What medicinal pill do you want to refine? Perhaps I can help, Chen said with a gentle smile. You know how to refine medicinal pills? Right after Xiao Chen finished speaking, he suddenly remembered that when the manservant introduced Chen earlier, he said that she was skilled in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. She was skilled in medicine, and could even make weapons into armor. She was skilled in all of them. She was skilled in refining treasures, refining medicinal pills, brewing wine, and many other miscellaneous things. Xiao Chen handed the alchemic recipe to the other party with the attitude of giving it a try. Heavenly Origin Pill. This is a king-grade medicinal pill that can repair law energy. No wonder when I first saw a young master one, your complexion did not look good and you looked weak. It turns out that you are severely injured. Chen was not too surprised. In her opinion, Xiao Chen had probably fallen from inferior-grade martial sage to martial monarch. She would never have imagined that Xiao Chen was a horrifying great grandmaster-level martial sage. 5 Dragon Force, a rank 4 sage body, great grandmaster-level martial sage cultivation, an immortal art magic skill, and a will of thunder and ice. Such strength was sufficient to sweep through the Cloud Sea domain. Even the blue-robed emperor of the Cloud Sea domain, Xiao Chen, could not stop him if he wanted to leave. That was in the past. If he had recovered his strength now, he would have been able to rise from the ashes. If Xiao Chen was unwilling, he wouldn't have been able to leave even if he wanted to. How is it? Are you confident? A king-grade medicinal pill is a little difficult. I am still a distance away from becoming a grandmaster alchemist. I can barely achieve a success rate of 30%. Chen revealed an apologetic look in her eyes. She said honestly, even if I do my best, there is only a 40% chance of success. Young Master Wen, you should look for someone else. When Xiao Chen heard this, he rejoiced. He smiled and said, Then it shall be you. I will prepare 10 sets of materials for you. Unless your luck is extremely bad, you will definitely succeed at least once. 10 sets of king-grade medicinal pill ingredients? Chen was shocked. Even in the Southern Sea, there were not many youths who could be so extravagant. Immediately, Chen could not help feeling curious about Xiao Chen's identity. 3 days later, the Purple Cloud warship arrived safely at Starry Cloud Island's harbor. Starry Cloud Island was the Mo clan's territory, the foundation of the clan. In the Shattered Cloud Sea, this Starry Cloud Island was rather famous. It was even famous in the neighboring sea domains like the Broken Cloud Sea and the Heavenly Cloud Sea. Merchant associations and cultivators came to purchase secret treasures in an endless stream all year round, creating a bustling place. Right now, Chen was the one in charge of the Mo clan. She still had many matters to deal with. Naturally, Xiao Chen did not have that much time. He followed her step by step, leaving only a strand of his spiritual sense on her before starting his own cultivation. Time passed. The magic energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness had already recovered most of it. Xiao Chen's immortal will of thunder reached small perfection again. However, his saber soul was still scattered in his sea of consciousness. Collecting it was rather problematic, but it was just a matter of time. The only thing that excited Xiao Chen was the will of ice. He could rely on the 1,000-year flame that Chen personally asked for. The cultivation speed of the will of ice was gratifying. It had already broken through small perfection and was steadily advancing toward great perfection. Xiao Chen thought about the will of thunder. He had spent more than 2 years and relied on all sorts of fortuitous encounters to cultivate it to great perfection. Then, he thought about the cultivation speed of the will of ice. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it advanced at a rapid pace. After 1 month, Xiao Chen finished grinding the 1,000-year flame that Chen had prepared. Now, Xiao Chen's will of ice was at great perfection. It was even stronger than the recovering will of thunder. The crystalline small saber in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness gave off a cold light. Strands of cold qi wrapped around the saber, sending out a boundless cold light. With a thought, Xiao Chen's forehead flashed, and the 3-inch-long ice saber appeared between his fingers, looking no different from a real object. Xiao Chen moved his fingers, and the small saber spun around. The bone-chilling saber qi turned into a saber wind howling. Snowflakes drifted down in the courtyard, dancing in the air. The nimble movements of the small saber were as miraculous as Xiao Chen's extra fingers. Bang! The instant the small saber stopped moving, the wind and snow froze. Space and time seemed to freeze at this moment. The small ice saber between Xiao Chen's fingers had already vanished at some point. A tree 100 meters in front turned into an ice sculpture. It was like the ice had completely transformed from the inside out. Bang! The tree shattered, and ice shards flew everywhere. The ground in the courtyard was covered in shattered ice. A cold light flew over, and the small ice saber reappeared between Xiao Chen's fingers. Xiao Chen did not dare to use his full power here, so he could only test it out in a small area. The effects were startling. If he used the full might of this small saber made of the will of ice together with Xiao Chen's current strength, killing Grandmaster-level martial sages would not be difficult. I do not have an ice-attributed saber technique. Even with the great perfection will of ice, I can only injure the enemy like this. It is somewhat of a waste, Xiao Chen said with some regret as he withdrew the small saber. However, if he could infuse the will of ice into the winter saber, the might of the winter saber should increase significantly. Heaven-ranked martial techniques were the peak of the world. However, with Xiao Chen's current cultivation, he naturally knew that there were even more powerful martial techniques above heaven-ranked. Most cultivators referred to martial techniques that surpassed heaven-ranked as profound martial techniques. Xiao Chen's subduing dragon profound slash was a martial technique that surpassed heaven-ranked. The 4-season saber technique cycle of seasons could also be considered a profound martial technique. If Xiao Chen infused the will of ice into the winter saber, just this saber strike alone could reach the standard of a profound martial technique. After not seeing you for 1 month, it looks like young master when strength has improved again. Mo Chen, who was wearing a veil, slowly walked in from outside the courtyard. There was a fatigued expression on her face, and she seemed to be in a somewhat dispirited state. It looked like Mo Chen had been very tired in the past month for the sake of refining that set of sage-grade secret treasures for the city lord's residence. Although the Mo clan was large, Mo Chen was the only one who could refine secret treasures. The others could only act as assistants at best and would not be of much help. However, since Mo Chen already came out, it meant that the secret treasures had been refined and were about to be sent over. You want me to accompany you to Shattered Cloud City, right? With a thought, Xiao Chen guessed Mo Chen's purpose in coming here. Yes. The crucial ingredients for refining the heavenly origin pill can only be bought in Shattered Cloud City. Mo Chen said softly, the Lu clan suffered greatly the last time. They will definitely cause trouble again. To avoid exposing ourselves, I'll go with you alone. Moving alone was fine. If he could rush to Shattered Cloud City, Xiao Chen did not have any objections. Come, let's depart now. Mo Chen led Xiao Chen out of Starry Cloud Island's underground tunnel. Their movements were very secretive. Aside from a few of the Mo clan's upper echelon, no one knew that the two had left. Mo Chen and Xiao Chen walked on the surface of the sea, their figures hidden in the vast sea. The two moved cautiously, flying along the vast sea with their own cultivation. Indeed, they did not run into any trouble. Shattered Cloud City is in front. Mo Chen said as she pointed to the blurry silhouette of a city on the vast sea at the limits of her vision. That was a city built on the sea. Xiao Chen sent out his spiritual sense and carefully observed it. Shattered Cloud City had transformed a vast island into a city. From a distance, it gave off the feeling of a city in the sea. Aside from Shattered Cloud City, there were 7 other similar cities in the sea in the Cloud Sea domain. Each of the 8 city lords ruled a sea. All of them had the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor. The position of Shattered Cloud City's city lord in the Shattered Cloud Sea was like that of a noble in the mundane world. He was the absolute ruler of the sea. The other factions had to submit to him in order to survive in the Shattered Cloud Sea. If they disobeyed, the consequences would be severe. However, over the past few thousand years, the city lord of Shattered Cloud City had changed several times. As long as one had the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor and was confident of killing the city lord, one could immediately ascend to the position of City Lord and become the ruler of the Shattered Cloud Sea. The current Shattered Cloud City's City Lord was the one who had killed the previous City Lord 100 years ago and replaced him as the new City Lord. For more than 100 years, the other factions of the Shattered Cloud Sea had not dared to resist. This was the principle of the strong being revered. There were many cultivators like the two of them on the surface of the sea. As the center of the Shattered Cloud Sea, Shattered Cloud City naturally did not lack people. It was 100 times more bustling than Starry Cloud Island. Come, let's enter the city directly. We will go to the City Lord's residence first. After that, we will buy the materials for refining the Heavenly Origin pill. Even though Imo-chan arrived safely in Shattered Cloud City, she did not show much joy on her face. Xiao-chun could understand this. She had spent so much effort and resources to refine a secret treasure. It would be strange if she was in a good mood if she just gave it to someone else. Given Imo-chan's talent, Starry Cloud Island's Imo clan truly limited her development. Shattered Cloud City demanded resources like this every year. Aside from maintaining the clan's development, there was not much left for Imo-chan. If Imo-chan were in a large sect, given her talent and beauty, she would be able to obtain countless resources. Her accomplishments would be many times greater than what she was now. Unfortunately, the Imo clan seemed to be relying on Imo-chan alone. If she left, the Imo clan would definitely be swallowed up in this world where the strong preyed on the weak. Is that Miss Imo-chan in front? A large black ship descended behind the two. A flag fluttered on the bow of the ship, with a flamboyant ancient character written on it. A person with a sword at his waist stood below the flag. His clothes fluttered in the wind, giving him an elegant air as he called out to Imo-chan. Broken Cloud City's young city lord, Gujanga. When Imo-chan saw this person, she frowned slightly and whispered his identity. Xiao-chun looked carefully and discovered that this person's cultivation was passable, a superior grade martial sage. Based on this person's appearance, he looked to be about 30 years old. Such talent could barely be considered first-rate in the Kunlun continent. Chapter 1027. Hee, it really is Miss Imo-chan. I didn't expect to bump into you here. Since we've bumped into each other, come up and have a seat. Another person appeared beside Gujanga. It was a man who was about the same age as Gujanga and wore luxurious clothes, and he gave a faint smile. However, when his gaze lingered on Imo-chan's delicate body, there was an obscure, evil light in his eyes. With one look, it was clear that he was not a good person. Separated Cloud City's young city lord, Shi Feng. The two young city lords of the Broken Cloud Sea and the Separated Cloud Sea had also come to Shattered Cloud City. The two of them were outstanding talents of the younger generation in the Cloud Sea domain. Their fathers were both blue-robed emperor cultivators. They were influential people in the entire Cloud Sea domain, extremely strong. Imo-chan did not feel happy in her heart. She rejected, Imo-chan has matters to attend to. I can only apologize for your invitation. With that, he turned around and left. Shi Feng's face turned stiff, and the attendant beside him immediately understood. He jumped down from the bow of the ship and blocked the path of the two. Miss Imo-chan, my young city lord is only inviting you up for a drink and a chat. There is no need to reject him so decisively. This person was about 50 years old and a medial-grade martial sage. He stood in front of the two and stretched out his hand to block the way. Didn't you hear my young miss say that she has something important to attend to? Xiao-chun was unhappy in his heart. He was in a hurry to purchase the key ingredients for the Heavenly Origin pill, so he did not have the time to waste here. Do you have the right to speak? When the attendant saw that Xiao-chun was merely a martial monarch, yet he dared to point fingers at him, he immediately became angry and took 3 steps forward. With every step he took, huge waves would rise on the surface of the sea, startling the surroundings. As he walked, he used an extremely ingenious footwork. Although it was only 3 steps, it was extremely nimble. His figure turned illusory, moving like a phantom. Then he swung his hand down like an eagle hunting its prey, wanting to claw Xiao-chun's brains out. 9 roaming dragon transformations. Xiao Chen's figure flickered, and his figure also began to change. 9 real and fake figures, with different expressions and movements. Compared to the ghostly footwork, it was even harder to distinguish the real from the fake. That attendant could not help but be at a loss, not knowing where to start. Although he could not see through Xiao Chen's movement technique, it did not mean that Xiao Chen could not see through him. The 9 figures suddenly merged into one and punched. An azure dragon head formed on his fist. This was the dragon claw fist that he had not used in a long time. The dragon roared and struck the follower's chest, sending him flying far away, not giving him a chance to get up again. Xiao Chen's left hand turned into a claw and connected its head to its tail. An azure dragon formed from pure vital qi flew out and knocked the servant away again. Excuse me, young master Shi. Emo Chen indeed has important matters to attend to. Farewell. Xiao Chen does have. Emo Xiao, T to say this? It to Xiao too. V to say. Xiao. It to jai with T, it to T. Thu Xinyi. Sim. T think. Fin. Gu Jianga smiled and said, "It's just a woman, brother Shi, there's no need to be so angry." Can I not be angry? Who do you think I am? I am the city lord of separated Cloud City. I invited her several times, but she rejected me every time. This time, she even touched my servant. Shi Feng cursed with a murderous expression. Gu Jianga did not reply. He asked, "Who is that person beside her?" His cultivation is not high, but his physical body and vital qi are shockingly strong. He does not look like a Mo clan cultivator. Shi Feng said coldly, "This person is very bold. He even dares to make a move on my Shi clan's people." Gu Jianga said sullenly, "Let's stop here for now. This time, we 8 young city lords are gathering in Shattered Cloud City to discuss the trip to the Treasure Mountain. We cannot be late." When Shi Feng heard about the trip to the Treasure Mountain, he calmed down from his rage. He only stared at Xiao Chen's back, the murderous intent in his eyes never fading. As Xiao Chen watched Emo Chen walk in front without saying a word, he felt sorrowful in his heart. Sometimes, being too beautiful was a problem. Xiao Chen could not see what Emo Chen looked like because she wore a veil. However, when he looked at her silhouette, her exquisite figure, her eyes that looked like stars and gems, her smooth, fair skin, and the fact that these outstanding talents of the Cloud Sea domain chased after her, without a doubt, she was a beauty. However, in this Cloud Sea domain where the strong preyed on the weak, without the protection of a clan, such a beauty would only bring disaster. It must have been very difficult for her to persevere all these years. Shi Feng and Gu Jianga entered the Cloud Sea domain on a boat without any obstructions. Instead, they arrived at the city lord's residence ahead of Emo Chen. 6 people had already arrived in the great hall of the city lord's residence long ago. These 6 people all had extraordinary appearances and arrogant expressions. They were all superior-grade martial sages. In the Cloud Sea domain, they indeed had the right to be proud of having such a cultivation at such a young age. The one sitting in the middle was the young city lord of Shattered Cloud City. His father ruled the Shattered Cloud Sea and was the blue-robed emperor. The others also had extraordinary backgrounds, no weaker than the young city lords of the other cities of the Cloud Sea domain. When Shi Feng and Gu Jianga arrived, the young city lords of the 8 great cities of the Cloud Sea domain all gathered. Wang Ju, the young city lord of Shattered Cloud City, stood up to welcome them. He smiled and said, "Brother Shi, Brother Gu, why are you so late?" Shi Feng replied unhappily, "I ran into some trouble along the way. If not for giving face to Brother Wang, I would have fallen out with you on the spot." Wang Ju's expression changed slightly. The others also revealed interested expressions as they quickly asked about the reason. Shi Feng added fuel to the fire, telling them about his encounter with Emo Chen along the way. This Emo Chen really thinks that she is the Golden Phoenix. She is just managing a mere rank 6 clan, yet she dares to show me attitude and even let her subordinate attack my people. At this point, Shi Feng paused for a moment. Then, he glanced at Wang Ju and said, "Brother Wang, I know that you have always been interested in this girl. So, I gave you face this time and did not lose my temper. However, this time, we went to the treasure mountain together to seek fortuitous encounters. No matter what, you have to compensate me for my losses. Frost Cloud City's young city lord, Meng Xingwen, smiled in agreement and said, "We have noble statuses. We can destroy a rank 6 clan with the flip of a hand in the Cloud Sea domain. This Imo-chin is indeed somewhat outrageous. She even dares to attack Brother Shi's subordinate. This is indeed outrageous. We should teach this Imo-chin a lesson. Brother Wang Ju, you can't shield her anymore." The others thought of something and took advantage of the opportunity to apply pressure as well. These people had been drooling over Imo-chen's beauty and unique refining skills for a long time. However, she was in the Shattered Cloud Sea, so they did not dare to use force. Furthermore, they could not rely on their charm to win her heart. In the end, they would still benefit Wang Ju. Naturally, the other 7 felt upset. These people held noble statuses in the Cloud Sea domain, calling the wind and summoning the rain. They were like local tyrants, used to being arrogant and despotic. Imo-chin had worn out their patience long ago. If not for Wang Ju, they would have used other evil methods long ago. Wang Ju's expression changed. Soon, he smiled and said, "I understand what you all are thinking. There is no need to affect our relationship for a woman. Honestly speaking, I have worn out my patience as well." Wang Ju's plan all along was to obtain both the woman and the wealth. He wanted to use his charm to subdue the other party. Not only would he obtain the Mo clan's refining skills, but he would also obtain her heart. However, after working hard for so many years, there was no effect. Now that the others were making things difficult for him, he decided to go with the flow. He could not be bothered to continue. Shi Feng's eyes lit up. He had not expected his casual words to have such a miraculous effect. He said, "In that case, Brother Wang, what do you want to do?" "What do I want to do?" Wang Ju smiled coldly and said, "Soon she will come to the city lord's residence to deliver a set of secret treasures to me. At that time, I will give her one last chance. If she does not agree, I will directly capture her. I will not have any objections to what you all do." "Ha!" Shi Feng laughed loudly and said, "Brother Wang is really generous. This Imo-chin deserves it. Brother Wang's status is the highest, and you have such deep feelings for her. However, she rejected the face I gave her. She is just asking for it." Wang Ju sat down and took a sip of tea. Let's continue our earlier topic. The treasure mountain is filled with danger. Not only are there many demonic beasts, but there are also many combat puppets refined by the Fire Li sect, traps, formations, and restrictions. Our 8 clans can only obtain the greatest benefits by working together. The 2 great merchant associations of the Cloud Sea domain will definitely send people over. Also, some of the old fellows of the Cloud Sea domain will be tempted. These are not the most worrying things. I'm just afraid that people from the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea will come as well. It's fine. A small place like the Cloud Sea domain will not attract the attention of those people. Even if they come, so what? A strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its territory. With our 8 clans working together, they will have to think twice. The 8 discussed with each other, studying the various variables of the trip to the treasure mountain. Outside the city lord's residence, Xiao Chen and Imo-chin entered together. However, when Xiao Chen entered, a guard stopped him. The young city lord has ordered that only Miss Imo-chin is allowed to enter. Unrelated people are not allowed to enter the city lord's residence. The guard at the door said to Xiao Chen coldly and arrogantly with a cold and arrogant expression. Xiao Chen frowned slightly, not liking the other party's tone. "Never mind. Young Masterwan, go to the herb store in the city first. I'll meet up with you later," Imo-chin advised softly under the veil. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "In that case, be careful." Imo-chin smiled faintly and said, "Ha, it's fine. I've been to this city lord's residence several times before. It is not a den of wolves or tigers. Just wait for me." Seeing Imo-chin enter the city lord's residence, Xiao Chen had a bad feeling. Shaking his head, Xiao Chen turned and left. He had left a strand of spiritual sense on Imo-chin. As long as she was in danger, he could rush over immediately. Although the two had a cooperative relationship, They did not have much of a friendship. However, Xiao Chen was a man of his word. Since he agreed to be Mo Chen's bodyguard for 1 year, he would definitely ensure Mo Chen's safety for that year. Hopefully, nothing happened. The city lord's residence was filled with experts. With Xiao Chen's current strength, it would be difficult for him to barge in. However, if something really happened, even if the blue-robed emperor came out of closed-door cultivation, Xiao Chen would bring Mo Chen out without hesitation. The largest herb store in Shattered Cloud City was called Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. Cultivators needed to use medicine when they got injured, to cultivate, and to break through bottlenecks. They also needed assistance. No matter where, the business of a herb store would never be slow. A large city like Shattered Cloud City was no exception. Rivers crisscrossed the city, waterways crisscrossed, and lakes formed clusters. Xiao Chen called over a small boat and paid some astral coins. The boatman set off, carrying Xiao Chen to Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. Chapter 1028. After a few turns, the old boatman called out to Xiao Chen, "Young hero, we have arrived at the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion." When Xiao Chen walked out of the cabin and looked around, he saw many docked boats. An ancient-looking tall building stood beside the river. The signboard had the words, "Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion." Xiao Chen gently pushed off the ground and leaped over the river. Then, he landed in front of the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion and walked in with large strides. Sir, are you here to purchase ready-made medicinal pills, medicinal pill ingredients, medicine cauldrons, or perhaps some herbs?" A very attentive manservant immediately arrived before Xiao Chen and greeted him with a smile. However, when this manservant saw that Xiao Chen was only a martial monarch, he did not show too much respect. He only spoke politely. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. He was very observant and meticulous. How could he not notice the faint disdain in the manservant's eyes? Very good. Even this manservant has such high standards. This Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion will not disappoint me. I want to purchase more than 100 million astral coins. If the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion can buy them all, I will not go anywhere else. 100 million astral coins equaled 1 million black astral coins. Even a regular superior-grade martial sage would not have so much money. The manservant looked at Xiao Chen with some suspicion. Then, he smiled embarrassedly and said, "Friend, you must be joking, right?" Xiao Chen did not explain much. He casually tipped this person 100 black astral coins and handed the list of herbs to him. "All the herbs you want to buy are on there. If you have them, give me 10 sets of each." When the manservant held the bona fide black astral coins in his hand, his expression immediately changed. When he saw the list of herbs, he became so excited that his hands trembled. A fawning expression appeared on the manservant's face as he smiled and said, "Honored guest, please come with me. Let's go into the inner room and rest. I will immediately go and ask the manager." There were many cultivators in the hall. When they saw the manservant's expression, they were all shocked. What kind of large order could make the people of the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion lose their composure? When these cultivators looked at Xiao Chen, their faces filled with doubt. They did not know where this person came from. Inside the room, the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion arranged for 2 pretty maidservants to serve Xiao Chen. There was an incense burner, medicinal tea, and a platter of spirit fruits. Xiao Chen had seen even better treatment than this before. Naturally, he did not feel reserved. He sipped the medicinal tea and ate the good spirit fruits as he chatted with the 2 maidservants in soft voices. Soon, the manager of the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion rushed over. Xiao Chen, the manager of the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion, rushed over with a smile. "Xiao Chen, please don't. The manager of the Medicinal Dragon Pavilion is a medicinal Chen." This was a large order for 1 million black astral coins. He could not help but lose his composure. If this order was completed, the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion would not be able to do business for half a year. Xiao Chen put down his teacup and waved it off. "As long as you have what I want, I will entertain you however you want." The manager's eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled and said, "Honored guest, fortunately, you came to my Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. If you went to another herb store, you would not be able to buy a few items. Even if you could gather them, you would not be able to gather 10 portions. 8,000-year-old yellow chi fruit, 5,000-year-old heavenly snow lingji, 7,000-year-old ginseng fruit, 5-colored gilded flower, just any one of them is incredibly rare. You can only find some of them at auctions. The manager was very familiar with the various herbs. Hearing that the manager had them, Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. Even that rather long-winded introduction sounded much more pleasing to his ears. Fortunately, my medicinal cauldron pavilion has been accumulating for many years and frequents all sorts of auctions. We can fulfill the herbs that the honored guest wants and your requests. However, the price. Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a faint smile. Right now, he was very wealthy. He had more than 20 million black astral coins on hand. If he sold all the other treasures, not counting the Holy Spirit vein, he could sell them for a horrifying sum of 100 million black astral coins. To Xiao Chen, 1 million black astral coins was just a drop in the bucket. He could casually take it out. Xiao Chen flicked his finger, and a spatial ring flew out. The manager used his mental energy to check it and saw piles of black astral coins in it, a startling number. The manager could not help revealing an expression of joy on his face. However, his hand was empty. Xiao Chen had sucked the spatial ring away. The manager felt disappointed in his heart. He no longer doubted Xiao Chen. Then he opened his hand, and brocade boxes containing herbs appeared. Xiao Chen stood up and carefully inspected the items. The heavenly origin pill concerned whether he could recover his strength or not. This was a very important matter, so he could not be careless with the herbs. Not bad. The goods are not fake, and the age of the herbs is not false. The medicinal cauldron pavilion is indeed a golden signboard, Xiao Chen complimented after he finished inspecting the items. Xiao Chen handed over the money with one hand and the goods with the other, successfully completing this transaction. The manager put away the black astral coins and smiled. Doing business is all about trust. You get what you pay for. If you need anything in the future, esteemed guest, you can come and look for me. Our master, the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association, has some face in the entire Cloud Sea domain. Aside from medicinal pills, we can cooperate in other areas as well. The manager took advantage of the situation. Clearly, he wanted to befriend Xiao Chen. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He smiled and said, I am Wenziren. Manager, there is no need to address me as esteemed guest. I heard from the manservant that the store sells medicine cauldrons. A good medicine cauldron could not only raise the quality of the medicinal pill but also greatly increase the success rate. If Mo Chin had a peak-grade medicine cauldron, her chances of refining the heavenly origin pill would be higher. The manager's eyes lit up. He quickly said, Young Master Wen, are you interested? In that case, I'll bring you to see the treasure of our store, the Heavenly Phoenix Medicine Cauldron. Just as Xiao Chen was about to answer, his heart skipped a beat. Something happened to Mo Chen. Manager, help me hold on to the Heavenly Phoenix Medicine Cauldron for a while. I have some urgent matters to deal with. Before the manager could reply, the sullen Xiao Chen's figure flashed, leaving behind a strong wind filled with killing intent that lingered in the room for a long time. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the shopkeeper's sight. The manager's expression changed slightly. Where did this major character come from? To think that he came to such a small place like the Shattered Cloud Sea. Could it be that a treasure mountain is about to appear? I have to tell young master about this. Shattered Cloud City, City Lord's residence. Mo Chin followed the guards and arrived at the Great Hall. When she saw the young city lords of the various cities, she immediately had a bad feeling. This was especially so for separated Cloud City's Shifeng. He did not hide the lascivious look in his eyes as he stared at her. Under the veil, Mo Chen's expression did not change. She only pondered in her heart as she calmly stepped forward. When she raised her hand, secret treasures flew out. There were shoulder pads, breastplates, greaves, battle suits, helmets, and many others. This was a complete set of peak sage-grade secret treasures. Colorful lights filled the air. Everyone's eyes were filled with admiration. When this set of secret treasures was combined, It was much stronger than a regular king-grade secret treasure. Every secret treasure had formations connected to each other. When they worked together, they formed a huge formation. The smile in Wang Ju's eyes widened. He leaped up, and the secret treasures automatically flew to him. Soon, a set of beautiful, nearly flawless battle armor appeared on Wang Ju's body. The Mo clan's unique refining techniques are indeed unique and refreshing. Miss Mo Chin is even more talented and startlingly talented. This set of secret treasures not only looks better, but it is also more comfortable to wear than traditional secret treasures. Similarly, its power has not decreased. Every part of the formation pattern contains an individual formation, but when combined together, it is a complete formation. Wang Ju examined the secret treasures, but the smile on his face did not diminish. He was not stingy with his praises. After a while, Wang Ju removed the secret treasures one by one and handed them to his subordinates to put away. Ordinary people did not have strong mental energy like Xiao Qin. Leaving a mental mark would take some time. This set of secret treasures had many parts. At this moment, Wang Ju still had something important to do. Naturally, he could not waste time, so he left a mental mark on the spot. Mo Chen's expression did not change as she said calmly, "Young city lord is too polite. The Mo clan's refining techniques are not as amazing as the rumors say." "Is that so? You think that I am too polite?" "Actually, I think so too." Wang Ju smiled faintly and said, "Miss Mo Chen, you know how I feel about you. All these years, I've always been polite and courteous to you. Let me ask you, are you willing or not?" The atmosphere in the hall suddenly turned cold. 8 pairs of eyes stared at Mo Chen. Undercurrents surged in the surroundings. Urgent footsteps rang out. These were the warriors that the city lord's residence raised. The incessant footsteps created a tremendous pressure in the hearts of the people. As long as Mo Chen said no, she would immediately face a storm of attacks. Once she was captured, she would not be able to escape. Once she was captured, all sorts of methods would be used. The normally top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain would immediately become a prisoner. Mo Chen's expression remained calm. She had already expected this situation. Mo Chen was a woman, a beautiful woman. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, she carried a great reputation. Without a strong fate, without heaven-defying strength, it was just a matter of time before she became someone else's plaything. Life had no roots, it was like floating dust. However, this day came too early. If she had come later, she would have obtained the Book of Heavenly Works and forged a complete set of king-grade secret treasures, enough to fight against the blue-robed emperor. Mo Chen, you don't have a choice. I'll ask you again, are you willing or not? Wang Ju suddenly stood up and took 3 steps forward. Each step contained a powerful aura as he pressed forward. His gaze was like a sword as he stared at Mo Chen. There was naked lust in his eyes. Lust burned like a flame, as if he wanted to swallow Mo Chen alive. Shi Feng's eyes flickered. "Lass, don't disappoint me and really agree." The others thought the same as Shi Feng. If Mo Chen agreed, she would become Wang Ju's exclusive property. They would not be able to touch her even if they wanted to. Mo Chen laughed softly and removed the veil on her face. "You asked me if I was willing. I will ask you the same thing. Are you willing?" The moment the veil fell, Wang Ju, who had been pressing forward with an imposing aura, suddenly stopped. The expression on his face was as if he had seen an extremely terrifying existence, and he staggered backward. Xiao Qin staggered and fell to the ground in a sorry state. He pointed at Mo Chen with his right hand and trembled. His voice trembled as he said, No wonder you never removed your veil 3 years ago." Chapter 1029. Kasi. Among the other 7, some of the people drinking tea showed horror in their eyes. The teacups in their hands fell to the ground and fell. The beautiful face in Wang Ju's memory had 2 shocking saber scars on the left and right cheeks of that beautiful face. Her fairy-like appearance became extremely ugly and frightening under this long and slanted scar. It was like a centipede twisting on her fair skin. Mo Chen put on her veil again and looked at Wang Ju, who had fallen to the ground and had yet to recover his wits. Mockery and disdain appeared in her eyes. "You can go now." Wang Ju stood up, not willing to look at Imo-chen anymore. He pointed to the door and said, "I will treat today's matter as if it never happened." Imo-chen slowly turned around and walked out of the hall, step by step. The hall fell silent. No one had expected such a result. The top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain actually ruined her appearance, becoming the ugliest woman in the Cloud Sea domain. "Wait!" Just as Imo-chen was about to walk out of the hall, Shifeng, who was staring at Imo-chen's back without moving, suddenly shouted, "Everyone, help me block this girl. I will split all the gains from this trip to the treasure mountain equally with everyone." She is indeed trash. However, her figure is pretty good. It is fine if she covers her face and is in the dark. "Ah, brother Shi, you are really ruthless." "That's right. If she covers her face, she will not be able to see anything in the dark." Originally, the few of them did not care. However, when they heard Shifeng say that he would split his share of the treasure mountain equally, they were immediately tempted. All of them leaped up and launched themselves at Imo-chen. Rage flashed on Imo-chen's face. She pushed off the ground and quickly flew out. The 8 young city lords did not stop, following her step by step. When they came out of the hall, they surrounded Imo-chen in the front yard. The cultivators of the surrounding cities quickly followed, surrounding her from both inside and out. The remnant flowers were like blood, spreading grief. The scarlet pendant on Imo-chen's chest gave off a bright red light. Petals of the scarlet and white remnant flowers flew out continuously. Soon, they surrounded the vast front yard, dancing in the air. A sorrowful feeling spread out in all directions. Everyone's eyes were filled with confusion. Grief filled their hearts. Many painful memories of the past appeared in their minds. Imo-chen pushed off the ground and took the opportunity to fly out. However, in the city lord's mansion, there was a sentry every 10 steps, and every step was guarded. The grief pendant could not be used frequently, and it was quickly stopped by the 8 young city lords. Imo-chen's cultivation was not low, being a medial-grade martial sage. Furthermore, she possessed 9 different kinds of flames. She was no weaker than these young city lords. Imo-chen's cultivation was not low, she was a medial-grade martial sage. Furthermore, she had 9 different kinds of flames. In terms of one-on-one combat, she was no weaker than these young city lords. She might even be stronger. However, in this city lord Xiao and surrounded by so many experts, she seemed extremely insignificant. Rushing left and right, he saw that the door was right in front of him, but he was unable to charge out. In just a short while, his body was covered in wounds and his clothes were covered in blood. Imo, she, imo, she, and she, comma, imo, comma, she, this, and, chen, and ugly thing, it is your fortune that this young master took a liking to you. To think that you dare to disobey. You are really seeking a beating. Finding an opportunity, Shifeng stepped forward and punched, sending Imo-chen, who had crossed her arms to block, flying again. When Imo-chen landed, she lay flat on the ground for 100 meters. Her veil fell off. The ugly face was revealed once again, and the soldiers who were attacking all revealed horrified expressions as they jumped back. How ugly! That startled me. She is the top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain? To think I treated her as my dream lover. It turns out that she is so ugly. Indeed. If I had known earlier, I would have been more heavy-handed. All sorts of disgusted gazes looked at Imo-chen, who was on the ground. All sorts of curses rang out. There was no sorrow or desolation in Imo-chen's eyes. There was only a detached look of having seen through the ugliness of the world. Her lips curled up in a mocking smile. Imo-chen looked coldly at these people. They had once praised her endlessly. Now, it was only because of the change in her appearance. Immediately, he added malicious words, and every word he uttered struck at the heart. He even regretted that he did not strike hard enough. A sinister smile appeared on Shifeng's face. Many thanks for everyone's help. I'll bring this girl to teach her a lesson first. Boom! Just at this moment, something strange happened. A dragon roar resounded, and the gates of the city lord's residence shattered. Rocks flew everywhere, and the corpses of the guards exploded in the air. Amid the rain of blood, a figure rushed over at lightning speed. Naturally, the person who rushed over was Xiao Chen. He had rushed to the city lord's residence from the medicinal cauldron pavilion at his fastest speed. After the guards made things difficult for Xiao Chen for a while, he could not be bothered to endure any longer. He directly smashed the gates of the city lord's residence into smithereens with a punch. When Xiao Chen punched, he was only a martial monarch. How could the guards withstand 5,000 tons of force? Amid the scarlet light, before everyone's eyes, Xiao Chen wore ordinary clothes of alternating blue and white. Then he landed like a bolt of lightning. When Xiao Chen's feet landed firmly on the ground, a strong wind formed and surged into the surroundings. The strong wind howled, carrying the rage of the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. The strong wind blew away a few cultivators with low cultivations. They cried out in alarm as they flew far away. The moment Xiao Chen landed, he saw Mo Chen's condition. There were 2 long worm-like scars on her face. With one look, it was clear that these were not new injuries. The scars looked like they were embedded in her flesh, merging with her. This made that beautiful face look frighteningly ugly. Aside from this, the wounds on Mo Chen's body were all new. There were saber scars, sword scars, palm strikes, and fist lights. It was unknown how much damage her delicate body had endured. Xiao Chen stepped forward and arrived beside Mo Chen. Then, he grasped her right hand and whispered, "Sorry, I should have come in with you." Mo Chen originally wanted to refuse. However, she discovered that Xiao Chen's hand was very strong, not allowing her to let go. As Mo Chen held his hand, she did not feel warmth. Instead, she felt a chill. Her palm was already very cold. However, Xiao Chen's hand was even colder. It was bone-chilling, frighteningly cold, so cold that one would feel fear. However, Mo Chen did not feel fear. She revealed a smile and said, "Why would you say sorry? Everyone in the world has abandoned me in my current state. Yet you are still able to hold my hand. How can I blame you?" Mo Chen's jade-white, glossy finger released some light. Then she pressed it on Xiao Chen's forehead, and a mark quickly entered Xiao Chen's forehead. Xiao Chen was stunned. This is the Solar True Flame spiritual mark. Mo Chen completely transferred the Solar True Flame to Xiao Chen. "The agreement is voided. You may leave." Mo Chen let go and looked at Xiao Chen with a somewhat sorrowful smile. You want to leave? None of you can." Shi Feng looked at Xiao Chen and smiled coldly. "Brat, you came at the right time. I was just about to go and look for you after dealing with this woman. However, you delivered yourself to me. There is a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. Instead, you barge into the gates of hell." Shi Feng roared ferociously and unleashed his aura. Natural laws danced wildly behind him. Shi Feng quickly formed hand seals, and a disk of light formed in his palm. It flickered with boundless resplendent light. This was Shi Feng's best martial technique, the heavenly brilliant light disk. Shi Feng had used this move to kill several older generation superior-grade martial sages. It was more than enough to deal with a martial monarch with a strong physical body. Shi Feng looked at Xiao Chen, who did not move at all, only quietly holding Mo Chen's hand. He revealed a cruel smile and shouted, "Die." Right after Shi Feng said the word, "die," his head suddenly exploded, turning into countless pieces of ice flying everywhere. "Sorry, you can't kill me yet." Xiao Chen waved his hand, and a small ice saber appeared between his fingers. With the great perfection will of ice, he could even kill Grandmaster-level martial sages. Furthermore, Shi Feng was a superior-grade martial sage. Unfortunately, after using it once, it would not be as effective a second time. What's going on? Everyone was stunned when they saw Shi Feng's head suddenly disappear. They didn't understand what had happened. They didn't even see who had done it. Only the few Grandmaster-level martial sages on the roof, who were preparing to leave, saw this scene. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they exclaimed, "Great perfection will of ice." When Xiao Chen saw the saber wound on Mo Chen's face and her body covered in wounds, he had not felt such rage in a long time. He was not a bloodthirsty person. He always believed in leaving others a way out. As long as they were not a threat to him, he would let them live. However, today, Xiao Chen's murderous intent was completely triggered. Those who insulted him would die. Those who attacked him would die. Everyone here had to die. None of the 8 young city lords could be spared. Kill him. Wang Ju reacted, and his complexion suddenly paled. The son of the blue-robed emperor, the young city lord of separated Cloud City, had died in the city lord's residence of shattered Cloud City. This was a major matter. If this matter was not handled well, it might trigger a war between the 2 sea cities. At that time, the consequences would be dire. I need to kill Xiao Chen. Wang Ju's expression turned sullen as he looked coldly at Xiao Chen. Then he ordered all the elite soldiers in the city lord's residence to move out. The sound of footsteps resounded, and many figures rushed towards Xiao Chen. They were all the guards of the city lord's residence. The weakest of them was a martial monarch. In the shattered Cloud Sea, they were considered experts of a region. Burning the heavens. The densely packed figures were martial monarchs flying over from all directions. There were at least 500 of them. Xiao Chen shouted coldly and started burning his vital qi. He executed the dragon claw fists burning the heavens. Before Xiao Chen's vital qi reached 5,000 tons of force, he could already kill superior-grade martial monarchs with this move. Now that Xiao Chen's vital qi reached 25,000 tons of force, the burning the heavens claw he executed would be very horrifying. A cloud of green smoke shot up into the sky. In the sky, the clouds began to burn. Suddenly, the sky turned green as if it was burning. A huge, solid dragon claw covered in dragon scales descended from the sky. With a pa sound, it smashed down and smashed a third of the martial monarchs into a meat paste. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen clawed down 3 times in a row, sweeping through the surroundings. The martial monarchs flying over were all mangled and turned into ashes. Chapter 1030. 5 heaven dragon images appeared behind Xiao Chen. They reared their heads back and roared ferociously, stirring up the wind and clouds and causing the sky to change color. Wang Ju, Gu Jianga, and the other young city lords were dumbfounded. The guards of the city lord's residence, who had an extraordinary aura earlier, died in 3 punches from Xiao Chen. Young city lords, retreat quickly. This person's physical body is a martial sage. His strength is comparable to a Grandmaster-level martial sage's. When the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages on the roof saw the situation escalate, they quickly shouted and rushed over. Can you retreat? Xiao Chen snorted coldly and started running forward. Every step he took carried thousands of tons of force. The energy that erupted as he ran was comparable to a volcano erupting or a flash flood. The vast city lord's residence shook intensely. The sky shook and the ground shook. The young city lords were frightened out of their wits. Their complexions paled as they ran back for their lives. They had not expected such a demonic genius to appear, daring to kill people in the city lord's residence. He was simply tired of living. Bang! Xiao Chen was very fast. With 1 step, he left behind a long line of afterimages in the air. With 3 steps, he caught up to Broken Cloud City's young city lord, Gu Jianga. Without saying a word, Xiao Chen circulated the 5 dragon force in his body, giving off thunderous sounds. When he punched, the 5 dragons roared, and the wind and clouds moved. Gu Jianga did his best to block. However, how could he receive the strike that equaled a Grandmaster-level martial sage? Kasi. The bones in Gu Jianga's arms shattered. Then the cracks spread all over his body. In that instant, his entire skeleton shattered, and he died. Xiao Chen slapped Gu Jianga's corpse away before continuing his chase. This strange commotion had already startled all the cultivators in Shattered Cloud City. Someone dared to make a move in the city lord's residence. Countless cultivators rushed over to watch the excitement. Fuck, another young city lord has died in his hands. He killed 2 young city lords in one go. What exactly is his background? The onlookers were all fearful. Behind each young city lord stood a blue-robed emperor. If you offended the blue-robed emperor, no one in the shattered cloud sea would be able to save you, no matter where you went. Offending both of them at once was simply suicidal. Imochen, who was on the ground, put her veil back on. She had not expected Xiaochen to kill for her just because of a simple promise. His vital qi will eventually run out. When the Grandmaster-level martial sages and Great Grandmaster-level martial sages of the City Lord's residence come out, only death awaits him. Thinking of this, tears welled up in Imochen's eyes. Was it worth it to kill someone in anger for her? In the blink of an eye, Xiaochen took another 10 steps, punching out with every 3 steps, killing one person with each punch. The last punch was unstoppable, killing 3 people with each step. By the time the Grandmaster-level martial sages of the City Lord's residence arrived, Xiaochen had already killed the 8 young city lords, leaving only Wang Ju. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Xiaochen had only taken 10 steps, and of the 7 young city lords fleeing for their lives, only Wang Ju remained. The surrounding cultivators were so horrified that they could not speak. Many of them revealed fear in their eyes as they looked at Xiaochen. What kind of rage made this person dare to make a move in the city lord's residence? What kind of confidence made him dare to kill the young city lords of the Cloud Sea domain, who were like the crown princes of the mundane world? A dragon roared, and the aura of kingship surged out. Xiaochen remained expressionless as his figure flickered, continuing to chase Wang Ju. However, at this moment, the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages had already arrived. After such a great burst of vital qi, Xiaochen did not have much left. Once Xiaochen ran out of vital qi, he would be like a child before a Grandmaster-level martial sage with his quintessence. No matter how strong his physical body was, he would be beaten to death. However, Xiaochen's gaze turned sullen. He continued to stare at Wang Ju, showing no intention of stopping. You still dare to make a move? The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages snorted coldly and attacked together. Circles of perfect heavenly sage laws appeared behind them. As they breathed, they could absorb a boundless amount of spiritual energy. As expected, the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages executed killing moves, showing no intention of holding back. Even if a Grandmaster-level martial sage were here, he would be severely injured by the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages. When the Grandmaster-level martial sages arrived, Wang Ju released his bated breath. He turned around and stood behind the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages. Then he looked coldly at Xiaochen and said, "Severely injure him. I do not want him to die. I want to torture him for 100 years, 1,000 years. I want him to know the consequences of what he did today." Right now, Xiaochen was only a martial monarch. It would be impossible for him to break out of this. Xiaochen could only use his remaining vital qi to defend and see if he could escape unscathed. However, Wang Ju was not dead yet. The rage in Xiaochen's heart could not be quenched. Even if he had to use his palm, he had to kill Wang Ju here today. I will not let this matter rest. With a wave of his right hand, Xiaochen quickly took out the cycle banner from the universe ring. When the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages' killing moves arrived, he shook his wrist and unfurled the cycle banner. Massacre, death, and ruin. The 3 colors of starlight intersected, filling the sky with starlight. The words, kill, ruin, and death, came from the astral banner. Although Xiaochen's magic energy had not returned to its peak, he could still use the cycle banner to block the killing moves of these 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages. Starlight burst out, and the killing moves of the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages clashed with the 3 simple words, giving off an intense sound. Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiaochen's mouth as he watched the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages get knocked back. Then he looked coldly at the stunned Wang Ju. Wang Ju could not help but despair in his heart. His father, who had the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor, and the vice city lord, who was a great Grandmaster-level martial sage, had gone to a forbidden sea to search for treasures. At this moment, there was no one in the city lord's residence who could block this person. When Wang Ju saw Xiao Chen charging over with the might of 5 dragons, he clenched his teeth and circulated all the quintessence in his body, trying to do his best to block Xiao Chen's strike. However, Wang Ju knew that he did not have much confidence. 25,000 tons of force was equivalent to the full power of an ordinary Grandmaster-level martial sage. Right now, he was only a superior-grade martial sage. The difference was too great. When the punch arrived, Wang Ju's protective heavenly laws shattered. He immediately suffered severe injuries. Wang Ju rejoiced in his heart as the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages charged over again. This earlier punch was clearly the last of Xiao Chen's vital qi. As long as Xiao Chen retreated, he would be able to keep his life. Pu Si. However, Xiao Chen did not retreat at all. He flipped his hand and thrust the tip of the cycle banner forward, piercing Wang Ju's chest. Wang Ju's heart instantly shattered, and he died on the spot. However, it was too late for Wang Ju to retreat now. The attacks of the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages struck his chest at the same time, knocking him back. He vomited blood, and his complexion paled significantly. The young city lord is dead. The 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages looked at the lifeless Wang Ju on the ground. The murderous intent on their faces intensified as they chased after Xiao Chen, who was knocked back. Xiao Chen somersaulted in the air and unfurled the freedom wings. His speed suddenly increased. When he passed by Emo Chen, he shouted, "Stretch out your hand." Emo Chen stretched out her right hand in a daze. Xiao Chen, who was flying past, pulled her into his embrace and quickly flew out of the city lord's residence. At this moment, Xiao Chen's vital qi was exhausted. He had to maintain the freedom wings with his magic energy. If he relied on his quintessence as a martial monarch, he would not be able to fight against the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages behind him. However, Xiao Chen was not in a rush. He still had the Qing Emperor's saber light that he had not used yet. If necessary, he could possess Ao Jiao. However, he was not at his wits' end yet. If he could avoid using these trump cards, it would be best not to. As the surrounding cultivators watched Xiao Chen unfurl the freedom wings and fly away after killing the people, their hearts surged endlessly like waves on the sea. The 8 young city lords of the Cloud Sea domain died just like that in the disorderly city lord's residence. After this day, the entire Cloud Sea domain would probably be stirred up. The name of the mysterious man beside Emo Chen would definitely spread throughout the entire Cloud Sea domain. For so many years, the city lords had been like the heavens in the Cloud Sea domain. No one dared to go against them. Today, a youth who was only a martial monarch killed all 8 city lords, not leaving a single one alive. Furthermore, Xiao Chen did it in the heavily guarded city lord's residence, which was filled with experts. The young city lords died before the eyes of 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages. These 3 people chased after Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was carrying a person, and his magic energy had not completely recovered yet. Furthermore, other cultivators occasionally appeared to block him. He could not truly shake off these 3 people. "Young Master One just put me down. You helped me take revenge." Emo Chen already has no regrets, Emo Chen said sullenly as she lay in Xiao Chen's embrace. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Since I am your bodyguard, I will definitely ensure your safety for 1 year. Think about the Mo clan. If you die, what will they do? It's fine. When they find out about me, they will definitely leave on their own. I knew that this day would come long ago, so I already made preparations." However, Xiao Chen did not say anything more to Emo Chen. He only hugged her even tighter, afraid that she would struggle free on her own. Pursuing relentlessly, Xiao Chen felt the magic energy in his sea of consciousness diminish. He glanced at the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages and sighed helplessly. Then he prepared to call out Ao Jiao. If Ao Jiao possessed him and used the Thunder King's consummate technique, his identity and whereabouts would probably be exposed, just like the scene at the king conferral ceremony. Just at this moment, a group of black-clad men charged out of the city. The person leading them had a high cultivation, a Grandmaster-level martial sage. The others were all martial sages as well. Before Xiao Chen's shocked gaze, he made a move to help block the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages behind. Young Master Wen, come with me, one of the black-clad men said quickly without stepping forward. Xiao Chun could tell that it was the manager of the medicinal cauldron pavilion. After hesitating for a while, he followed. Although the group of black-clad men could not defeat the 3 Grandmaster-level martial sages, they had no problem delaying them. Xiao Chun put away the freedom wings. Together with the manager of the medicinal cauldron pavilion, they made many turns. Soon, they avoided the eyes and ears of the city lord's residents and their pursuers. Then, they entered an unremarkable courtyard. Then, they used the tunnel to enter the back hall of the medicinal cauldron pavilion. The black-clad man leading the way removed his mask. Indeed, it was the manager of the medicinal cauldron pavilion. The manager smiled gently and said, "Young Master Wen, now that we are here, even if the city lord of Shattered Cloud City returns, this will be a safe place." Xiao Chun put down Emo Chin and casually looked around. Then he looked at the manager and said, "Many thanks to the manager for helping out this time." Chapter 1031. The manager smiled mysteriously and shook his head. "There is no need to thank me. The one who decided to save young Master Wen was the young master of our 9 Cauldron Merchant Association." 9 Tripod Commerce? When Emo Chin heard these words, she whispered to Xiao Chen, "The 9 Cauldron Merchant Association is one of the 2 great merchant associations of our Cloud Sea domain. Their influence covers the entire Cloud Sea domain. The blue-robed emperor is also in the Merchant Association. I heard that the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association is just a branch of the Heavenly Starry Ocean's 9 Cauldron Pavilion. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion is one of the largest merchant associations in the entire Heavenly Starry Ocean. However, I do not know whether this is true or not." After receiving Emo Chen's voice transmission, Xiao Chun raised his guard. If the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association was really a branch of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion, they probably already knew that Neptune's old subordinates were searching the world for the Blue Dragon King. Suddenly risking her life to save him, could it be related to this? However, on the surface, Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He cupped his hands together and said, "No matter what, it was the 9 Cauldron Chamber of Commerce that helped me out of my predicament this time. I cannot reject this favor." Young Master Wen really knows how to joke. Even if we didn't do anything, it wouldn't be difficult for them to escape. After all, the city lord of Shattered Cloud City isn't here. It's just a small favor. A hearty laughter rang out from outside the room. A handsome young man, who exuded the aura of a worldly merchant, leisurely walked into the room. The manager quickly introduced, "Young Master Wen, this is the young master of our 9 Cauldron Merchant Association, Mu Qinghan. Young Master, this is the young Master Wen that I told you about." Mu Qinghan stepped forward and smiled warmly. "When Xiren, I have never heard of this name before in the Cloud Sea domain. I don't think I have heard of him in the Southern Sea or the Northern Sea either. Where is Brother Wen from? Can you tell me? I'm very curious about this." Xiao Chun pondered in his heart. Generally speaking, when strangers meet, if they don't introduce themselves, they will not be able to recognize each other. They knew how to avoid it and not ask about each other's origins out of curiosity. This was the rule of the Jianghu outside, otherwise, it was very likely to cause the other party to be displeased. Even if he were to ask, it would be a slight probe instead of a direct question. Based on Mu Qinghan's appearance, he did not look like someone without experience. He would definitely know this rule. Could it be that there was a deeper meaning behind the other party's actions? Thinking about it, the other party had risked his life to save him. There must have been something to gain from him, or perhaps he was of some value to him. Otherwise, only a fool would take the risk and offend a blue-robed emperor to save someone. With this thought, Xiao Chun smiled faintly and asked, "Brother Mu, have you heard of the Kunlun continent's Saber Sword 2 sovereigns? Saber and Sword Kings?" An undetectable trace of shock flashed in Mu Qinghan's eyes. He said softly, "The Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaotian grasps the coiling Monarch Time Saber, and the Sword Sovereign Lu Xiaoyun grasps the Scarlet Firmament Void Sword. The 2 of them are experts second only to the Kunlun Realm's 5 primes. Of course I've heard of him. Could it be that Brother Wen's origin is related to such a top character?" Xiao Chen said calmly, I am not talented, but I am the Saber Sovereign's personal disciple. After I got injured, I drifted here. As soon as these words came out, the few people in the room were stunned. Primes were the peak experts of the entire Kunlun realm. Standing at the peak, they could look down on everyone else. Even the cultivators of the distant heavenly starry ocean had heard of the Kunlun realm's 5 primes. The Saber Sovereign Wushan was a sovereign martial emperor just one step away from prime. To think that when Xiren could be related to such a person. How could this not be shocking? However, Imochen clearly did not believe this. From the start, she knew that when Xiren was just an alias of Xiao Chen. He could not possibly have such a high status. The expression in Mu Qinghan's eyes flickered, becoming uncertain. Clearly, he had a suspicious expression as well. The manager smiled and said, Since you are the Saber Sovereign's personal disciple, I believe your saber techniques must be startling. Coincidentally, my young master's saber techniques are passable. Young Master Wen, how about you give him some pointers? When Mu Qinghan heard this, he immediately smiled and said, It is settled, then. However, young Master Wen is injured. We will only exchange one move. I will not use my heavenly sage laws. Xiao Chen readily agreed. Since he mentioned the Saber Sovereign title, it was naturally best for the other party to probe him. Furthermore, the more urgent the other party was, the more it proved Xiao Chen's guess. There was a private courtyard behind the medicinal cauldron pavilion. It was the best place to test moves. There was a simple drill ground in the courtyard. All sorts of weapons, sabers, spears, swords, and staffs were on display. All of them flickered with a cold light. With one look, it was clear that they were not ordinary. Young Master Wen, after you. Xiao Chen looked around and casually picked out a saber of about the same size. Then he brandished it twice and shook his head slightly, not feeling anything. Xiao Chen picked out a few more sabers but did not feel anything. He was not used to it at all. As expected, Xiao Chen, who was used to the Lunar Shadow Saber, found it hard to find the same feeling for other sabers. The Lunar Shadow Saber had already become Xiao Chen's signature weapon. Once it was exposed, anyone who asked around would be able to figure out his identity. Clearly he could not use it. Originally, Xiao Chen did not intend to use a saber. However, compared to the Lunar Shadow Saber, the Blue Dragon King's mark on the flawless saber Dao was deeper. That way, his identity would be exposed even faster. After looking around, he could only choose a random saber. After that, Mu Qinghan also drew a saber. The two stood on the drill ground and faced each other. The manager and Imochen, who were watching from the side, felt extremely curious. They wanted to see how strong this self-proclaimed disciple of the Saber Sovereign was. This was especially so for Imochen. Since the moment she saw Xiao Chen, she had not seen Xiao Chen use a saber. Her eyes filled with suspicion. After the greetings, the two assumed their stances and started storing up power. Mu Qinghan's cultivation was not low, close to Grandmaster level martial sage. His saber intent was also close to great perfection. When competing with the saber, Xiao Chen did not feel any pressure at all. He showed a relaxed expression as he waited quietly for the other party to make a move. After facing each other for a long time, Mu Qinghan felt that although Xiao Chen did not take on any stances, he gave off a very natural feeling when he stood there. A phrase popped up in Mu Qinghan's mind, the air of a grandmaster. Only such a person could display his saber Dao with just a casual move. It would have been fine if Mu Qinghan had not thought about it. The moment he did, he was startled. If that was really the case, then how strong was Wen Xiren, who was a Grandmaster-level martial sage and had 5 Dragon Force's vital chi? Bang! Suddenly, a cold light lit up in front of Mu Qinghan. A saber light appeared in Mu Qinghan's vision. It seemed both near and far, unfathomable. Mu Qinghan quickly retreated. He squinted and saw the trajectory of the saber. Then he swung his saber to block. However, the trajectory that Mu Qinghan saw changed in an instant, materializing hundreds of different saber trajectories that seemed real and fake. Chung, chung. Without giving Mu Qinghan any time to think, Xiao Chen did not stand on ceremony. He stepped forward, and all the trajectories merged. Then he placed his saber on Mu Qinghan's neck. "Young Master Mu, you were distracted." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and calmly sheathed his saber. Praise flashed in the eyes of Mo Chen and the manager, who were watching from the side. What excellent saber techniques! The instant Xiao Chen drew his saber, he materialized hundreds of different trajectories, real and fake, changing unpredictably. This move proved Xiao Chen's foundations. If they knew that these 100-odd saber trajectories were all real, they would probably be even more shocked. Mu Qinghan smiled embarrassedly and said, "Young Master Wen is being too humble. Even if I did not get distracted, I would not be able to defeat you in terms of saber techniques. The two of you can stay here first. I will arrange for a doctor to come over later. Don't worry, this place is absolutely safe." After saying that, Mu Qinghan left in a hurry with the manager. The instant Mu Qinghan turned around, the smile on his face vanished, replaced with an extremely grave expression. "Go and check immediately. See if the Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaoyan has a disciple called Wen Ziren. It should not be fake." With the Saber Sovereign backing him, that would explain why he dared to make a move in the city lord's residence. Furthermore, his saber techniques are sufficient proof. The manager continued, "Furthermore, the Saber Sovereign is such a strong person. Who would be so bold as to pretend to be his disciple?" Mu Qinghan nodded and said, "Yes, it is very likely. The Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaotian can sweep through the entire Cloud Sea domain with just a wave of his hand. In our heavenly starry ocean, there are also the Northern Sea Saber Sovereign, Wavebreaker Saber Sovereign, and Ice Saber Sovereign. They are all sovereign martial emperors. However, they do not dare to remove the prefix, as there is only one Saber Sovereign. However, this matter is very important. It is best to be more cautious. After I find out, I can rest assured and dare to work with him." The manager nodded and said, "I understand. I will give young master a clear answer within 3 days." As Mo Chen watched Mu Qinghan and the manager leave, she could not help saying, "Wen Ziren, are you really the Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaoyan's personal disciple?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Wen Ziren is, but I am not." "Then who are you? To think that you dare to pretend to be the Saber Sovereign's disciple. I am your bodyguard. Aside from that, for 1 year, I am no one else." Nonsense. 2 days later, the manager quickly arrived at Mu Qinghan's room with a smile on his face. Mu Qinghan, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and asked, "How is it? Have you verified it?" The manager smiled and said, "I have. The Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaotian does indeed have a disciple called Wen Ziren. Furthermore, his river water saber was broken in the battle with the Blue Dragon King. This matches his unaccustomed expression when he was choosing a saber yesterday. Furthermore, his age and figure are similar. However, I did not manage to obtain a portrait. This Wen Ziren's whereabouts have always been elusive and extremely mysterious. If you want a portrait of him, you will have to wait half a month before sending it over." Mu Qinghan revealed an expression of joy. "Good, there is no mistake about it now." The manager laughed softly, "Huh. Young master is still the most cautious. Actually, given the Saber Sovereign's status and strength, there is practically no one who would dare to pretend to be his disciple." Mu Qinghan stood up and took a few steps. Then he said, "Right, I don't know about that. However, it is never wrong to be more careful." However, his saber was broken by the Blue Dragon King. This Blue Dragon King is the one that Neptune's old subordinates, Zodiac Hall, and a large group of loose cultivators are searching for, the Xiaochen? That's the one. The Blue Dragon King that the Thunder King personally appointed. He carries a lot of treasures on him. His cultivation has reached peak Great Grandmaster level martial sage. In the heavenly starry ocean, he even fought the blue-robed emperor to a draw. His strength is rather horrifying. However, for some reason, he mysteriously disappeared on the way to Heavenly Star Island. He has Neptune's crown on him. Neptune's old subordinates will definitely not let him off. He even nearly disfigured Zodiac Hall's Fu Hongyao. His enemies are all people with influence over the heavenly starry ocean. Chapter 1032. The managers spoke tirelessly. His tone was filled with respect and admiration for this mysterious Blue Dragon King. In this age of geniuses, Xiao Chen's experiences were like legends, living out a legend. Even in the Cloud Sea domain, people of the upper echelon like them had heard of the Blue Dragon King. Mu Qinghan revealed a look of yearning in his eyes. Then he said with some disappointment, "Such a person is not someone we can come into contact with. However, after this matter is over, if I can leave this Cloud Sea domain, I might be able to make it to the center of the heavenly starry ocean." The Cloud Sea domain was not very eye-catching on the sea maps of the heavenly starry ocean. There were 10 more such sea domains between the Southern Sea and the Northern Sea. It was indeed a small place, extremely ordinary. Mu Qinghan was right. Few people would notice this place. In the end, Mu Qinghan revealed an extremely resolute expression. He asked seriously, "How is the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion doing? Do you know that they are looking for a few elite disciples from Zodiac Hall?" The manager shook his head and replied, "I'm not sure. They kept it a secret very well. It looks like they do know how to enter the Firely Sect's 10,000 Treasure Pavilion from the Treasure Mountain." The 10,000 Treasure Pavilion was the treasury that the Firely Sect used to store secret treasures. There were many secret treasures refined by the Firely Sect. These were all excellent king-grade secret treasures, and there was a horrifying number of them. Many of them were powerful secret treasures that could not be refined with current refining methods. However, after so many years, the trip to the Treasure Mountain had attracted countless experts. No one could find the location of the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion. Whether such a place even existed was a mystery. Without the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion, the attraction of the Treasure Mountain to Emperor Wu decreased significantly. However, to experts below Emperor Wu, it still held a strong attraction. Not to mention the various treasures, secret manuals, and ancient cultivation techniques in the Firely Sect remnant. Just the various natural treasures and natural treasures growing on the Treasure Mountain were enough to attract many cultivators to risk their lives. The Treasure Mountain did not appear normally. It was in the heart of the ocean, deep in the ocean. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to enter that place. The heart of the ocean was the most mysterious place in the entire ocean world. Even Emperor Wu could only sneak around the edges. However, the spiritual qi in that place was extremely abundant, so much so that even time could be changed inside. It was rumored that 100 years inside was equivalent to 10,000 years in the outside world. Although it was just a rumor, looking at the 10,000-year-old spirit herbs on the Treasure Mountain, there would always be other 10,000-year-old spirit herbs appearing the next time. This added a lot of credibility to the rumor. 100 years was 10,000 years, a year was 100 years, and a month was 10 years. Mu Qinghan revealed a sullen expression. After a while, he said, "Never mind. It looks like they know the importance of the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion and know that the news cannot be leaked. Otherwise, if the city lords found out, we would not even have any scraps to drink. Then, should I inform Wenziren now? After all, we still don't know if he will go with us and cooperate with us." The head shopkeeper asked. Mu Qinghan waved his hand and said, "There is no need for now. He will definitely agree. He cannot resist the temptation of the 10,000 Treasure Tower. If not for the fact that the 10,000 Treasure Tower invited an expert from Zodiac Hall, I really would not be willing to share with him. With one more person working together, he would definitely obtain fewer treasures. Fortunately, there were plenty of treasures in the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion. With another person, the benefits would be significant as well. In 2 days, Xiao Chen and Emo Chen's injuries had mostly recovered. Now that Emo Chen's injuries had healed, Xiao Chen naturally thought about refining the Heavenly Origin Pill. He looked for the head shopkeeper to borrow the Heavenly Phoenix Medicine Cauldron from the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion and started to make preparations. "I'll leave the ingredients here. The rest is up to you. Don't put too much pressure on yourself." After spending 1 million black astral coins, Xiao Chen placed the 10 sets of ingredients for refining the Heavenly Origin Pill on the table. Emo Chen smiled faintly and said, "With a nouveau riche like you around, how can there be any pressure? You should go first." It will take at least 2 days before there are results. I won't be of much help here. Oh, right. Is there really no need to worry about the Mo clan's Starry Cloud Island? Many thanks for your concern. It's fine. I already expected today's situation, so I made preparations in advance. The Mo clan's people will scatter. If the city lord wants to take revenge on the Mo clan, he will definitely be disappointed. Mo Chen controlled the flames as she familiarized herself with the heavenly phoenix medicine cauldron. At the same time, she answered Xiao Chen's question. In the future, if I have the ability to deal with the 8 city lords, I will naturally have a way to gather them. Xiao Chen nodded to himself. This girl really took care of everything. Unfortunately, she was too unyielding. It was hard to imagine that for the sake of blocking the thoughts of others, she would even do something to her own appearance. Actually, with her talent, she could easily join a large sect. She would not have to shoulder everything by herself. The reason the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association saved you this time is likely for the upcoming trip to the Treasure Mountain. Mo Chen changed the topic, voicing her own guess. I know. There must be some hidden reasons. The 9 Cauldron Merchant Association should not lack experts. Xiao Chen nodded, agreeing with Mo Chen's guess. It is good to work with them. Compared to the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association's reputation are much better. The Heavenly Treasure Pavilion was the merchant association behind the Lu clan. Xiao Chen had heard Mo Chen mention it before. This merchant association was rather tyrannical, wanting to swallow up the Mo clan several times. Mo Chen ignored it and supported the Lu clan to suppress the Mo clan. Mo Chen did not have a good impression of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion at all. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. In the Cloud Sea domain, the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association and the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion were about equal. This time, Mu Qinghan trying to rope him in might have something to do with the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Seeing that Mo Chen had already started refining the Heavenly Origin pill, Xiao Chen said his goodbyes and prepared to leave. When refining medicinal pills, one needed absolute silence. Xiao Chen did not like having others around when he refined medicinal pills. Just as he was about to close the door, he thought of something and stopped. Your Solar True Flame imprint is still in my hands. I'll give it to you now. There's no need. You can keep it. Mo Chen focused on refining medicinal pills, not even turning her head as she said, Are you leaving or not? If not, I will chase you out. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and gently closed the door. Then, he turned around and said, I cannot just take the Solar True Flame from you for nothing. The innate beauty nourishing pill in the Compendium of Cultivation should be able to help you. Mo Chen's wound had already existed for too long. Furthermore, it was intentional. The wound merged with the skin and flesh. Regular beauty nourishing pills would find it hard to have any effect. Only the innate beauty nourishing pill could help the other party. There was another way to help the other party. One day, when Mo Chen reached Emperor Wu's strength, she could remove all the scars during the process of reconstructing the golden body. Aside from spending some time and a lot of precious materials, refining the innate beauty nourishing pill was not very difficult. The only thing Xiao Chen worried about was whether the other party would be willing to use it or not. While the two of them were refining medicine, undercurrents were surging in Shattered Cloud City. The news of the 8 young city lords' deaths seemed to grow wings, spreading throughout the entire Cloud Sea domain and causing a huge commotion. As the situation changed, the 7 city lords of Broken Cloud City, Wind Cloud City, Heavenly Cloud City, Fog Cloud City, Chaotic Cloud City, and Frost Cloud City arrived. 7 major characters with the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor, people who could stir up winds and clouds with just a raise of their hands, worked together and arrived at Shattered Cloud City. All of them had sullen expressions, and the killing chi in their eyes was withdrawn. In the city lord's residence, these people looked coldly at the Shattered Cloud City's city lord, demanding an explanation. Why were the 7 young city lords of Shattered Cloud City killed like pigs and dogs in the city lord's residence of Shattered Cloud City? Even now, the culprit had not been caught. Just as the treasure mountain was about to surface, the 8 young city lords all died in Shattered Cloud City. This news could not help but make one's imagination run wild. Did the other factions do this on purpose? Within the Cloud Sea domain, the 8 city lords ruled over the area. However, they were not in a situation where they could cover the sky with one hand. Not only were there strong factions like the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion and the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association, but they were not much weaker than the city lords' residents. There were also several peak Great Grandmaster level loose cultivators who did not fear the city lords' residents. If they worked together, even the blue-robed emperor would have a headache. Furthermore, the name of the main character of this incident, when Xiren, spread throughout the entire Cloud Sea domain like a whirlwind. What kind of person dared to kill the 8 young city lords in the city lords' residence, offending the 8 blue-robed emperors in one go? Who gave him the confidence to kill in a fit of rage without the slightest scruple? However, no matter how they investigated, they could not find much information. They only knew that this person had never appeared in the Cloud Sea domain before. They had not heard of this name in the Southern Sea or the Northern Sea either. When Xiren, this person was like a meteor that suddenly appeared, descending from the sky with resplendent light and arriving in the Cloud Sea domain. The moment he appeared, he immediately stirred up the winds and clouds, and undercurrents surged. In Shattered Cloud City's city lords' residence, in merely 2 days, the other 7 city lords put down their important matters and traveled 5,000 kilometers under the starry night sky. At this moment, in a hall of an even higher standard in Shattered Cloud City's city lords' residence, 7 people expressionlessly looked coldly at Shattered Cloud City's city lord, Wang Zhan, who sat in the middle. Little brother Wang, this time, the scions of our clans all died in your residence. You have to give us an explanation. If this drags on, we will not have much patience. Shi Yong, the separated Cloud City's city lord, spoke first coldly. His son, Shi Feng, had his head exploded with a small saber strike from Shao Chen. He did not even have a complete corpse. Frost Cloud City's city lord said, "You did not even catch the murderer. Little brother Wang, how can you be a city lord?" Shi Yong's son, Meng Xingwen, was in an even worse state. He had been struck by Shao Chen's punch. 5 dragon force, 25,000 tons of force, smashed to smithereens, not even leaving a corpse behind. The other city lords spoke up one after another, putting pressure on Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan had been in the city lord's position for the shortest time. Among the 8, he was considered the youngest. When they lectured him, they did not hold back at all. Seeing that Wang Zhan did not say anything, Shi Yong said angrily, "Humph! Wang Zhan, we can't be bothered to speak nonsense with you. Hand over the murderer within 3 days and compensate each of us with 5 million black astral coins and 3 islands. Otherwise, just wait to get out of the Cloud Sea domain." Clearly, the 7 had discussed this beforehand. With Shi Yong taking the lead, they all stood up and left with a flick of their sleeves. "Ha! Isn't it just a dead son? Do you think I do not know how many concubines you have? You want to use this to threaten me and divide my territory? Your excuse is too lousy." Chapter 1033. Wang Zhan, who had been silent all this time, picked up his teacup just as the group was about to leave. Shi Yong turned his head and said angrily, "Although I have many descendants, not all of them are qualified to be the junior city lord. Wang Zhan, are you really forcing us to fall out with you now?" "Fall out?" Wang Zhan put down his teacup and smiled. "Do you really have the guts to fall out with me? Even if I have to risk my life, I can still drag one of you down with me." When the few people with surging auras heard this, they felt stifled. If Wang Zhan was determined to die together with them, no one would be able to stop him. The culprit can be caught, and the compensation can be discussed. I was in the wrong in this matter, so I admit defeat. But if you want to extort me, don't even think about it. I, Wang Zhan, am not one to be frightened. Wang Zhan retracted the smile on his face, not showing the slightest bit of fear. Being able to reach this step and obtain his current status, Wang Zhan was indeed not a coward. Murderer? Humph, it's already been 2 days, and you still haven't even seen the shadow of others, right? Stone Brave mocked. He is hiding in the backyard of the medicinal cauldron pavilion. If you have the guts, you can rush in at any time, Wang Zhan said indifferently. Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion, the 9 Tripod Commerce's Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. When the others heard this, their expressions changed slightly. They looked at each other and saw a trace of fear in each other's eyes. The atmosphere suddenly turned strange when Wang Zhan mentioned the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion. What's going on? The 9 Cauldron Pavilion is preparing to enter the Cloud Sea domain? A small place like the Cloud Sea domain would not catch their eye, right? Heavenly Cloud City's city lord said uncertainly. Others might not know, but these people knew that the 2 great merchant associations of the Cloud Sea domain, the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association and the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, had huge factions that spanned the entire heavenly starry ocean behind them. If they really wanted to interfere in the Cloud Sea domain, it would not be their turn to be kings here. If Xiao Chen was really hiding in the Medicinal Cauldron Pavilion, they would have to think twice before making a move. As soon as the city lord of Heavenly Cloud City spoke, the other city lords couldn't help but reveal a hint of worry on their faces. Wang Zhan mocked, "How can that be? How can a small place like the Cloud Sea domain be worth mobilizing Emperor Wu? The heavenly starry ocean is huge. What's going on then? Why would the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association suddenly make a move and save that person?" Wang Zhan waved his hand. "Don't ask me. I don't know either. However, if there is nothing fishy about this, if there is no profit to be gained, there is no way the 9 Cauldron Pavilion would do something so strenuous and unrewarding. I've also received news that the young master of the Treasure Heaven Pavilion has mysteriously lured over a group of young outstanding talents from the Southern Sea region. The Treasure Mountain has been peaceful for so many years. I'm afraid that some people have received some news that a great opportunity is about to appear. In the end, Wang Zhan pointed out his own guess. Such a strange movement definitely had something to do with the Treasure Mountain that was about to appear. However, we've all been to the Treasure Mountain before. Aside from finding some 10,000-year-old spirit herbs, the secret treasures in the remnant are of no use to people of our cultivation bases. Could it be the legendary Book of Heavenly Works? They got the news? Or perhaps the entrance to the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion was discovered. It might even be the burial grounds of the Fire sect's past sect masters. Perhaps it has something to do with the heart of the ocean. When the 7 city lords heard the last piece of news that Wang Zhan mentioned, they forgot about the pain of losing their sons. All of them started discussing the discovery in the Treasure Mountain for the 2 merchant associations to make such a move. When Wang Zhan saw this, he smiled coldly in his heart. He knew that this group of people were not here purely because of the loss of their sons. Now that they received news of the Treasure Mountain, their expressions immediately changed. No matter what the news is, without sufficient benefits, the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association will definitely not save Wenziren. If the few of you want to kill him, you can go over now. However, if you alert the enemy, you can forget about getting a share of the benefits in the Treasure Mountain. Seeing that the 7 were almost done, Wang Zhan interjected indifferently. Shi Yong said sullenly, "We can let him live for a few more days first. A few more days does not matter." Wang Zhan stood up, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, "That way we can talk. We need to kill him. Otherwise, the 8 of us will lose all our face. We need to take revenge for our sons' deaths. There is no need to rush. Whether there is anything in the Treasure Mountain or not, we just need to send people to follow. If there is nothing, we will not lose anything. After the matter is over, I will naturally give everyone a share of compensation. There is no need for us to damage our relationship." "Little brother Wang, these words are pleasing to the ears. Let's do that. We will each send a great Grandmaster-level martial sage to lead the team and follow the 2 young masters from afar. We will know what they discovered with one look." In next to no time, the situation where swords were drawn became harmonious and harmonious. Needless to say, it was a great irony. At the same time, in the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's headquarters, the young master was discussing with the 2 people from Zodiac Hall. The Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's young master in the Cloud Sea domain was called Chen Wenjun. His aura was similar to Mu Qinghan's. However, his eyes had an additional tyranny and coldness, making others wary with one look. However, at this moment, Chen Wenjun did not dare to show any of his tyranny in his words. The reason was none other than the two people speaking to him having a very high status. Everyone in the entire Southern Sea knew about them. At such a young age, they were already peak Grandmaster-level martial sages, only one step shy of great Grandmaster-level martial sages. In this age of geniuses, these people were undoubtedly outstanding talents. Everywhere they went, they could be called geniuses. Brother Chen, don't lie to us. We came all the way here for the 10,000 treasure pavilion that you mentioned. At that time, we will only pick up a pile of spirit herbs and sage-grade secret treasures. Chen Wenjun quickly said, "Don't worry. The news about the 10,000 treasure pavilion is absolutely true. I also have a map of the entrance." Unfortunately, the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association's Mu Qinghan also obtained a map. Furthermore, he found a demonic genius youth to help him. When Xiren? We heard that he only killed 8 superior-grade martial sages, and he dares to call himself a demonic genius? Any elite disciple of our Sun Palace can do that easily. The Zodiac Hall disciple on the right said with disdain. At this moment, Xiaochen naturally did not know what kind of waves his cooperation with Mu Qinghan would cause. Furthermore, the 8 blue-robed emperors already had their eyes on him. No matter what the result was, it seemed to be a dead end. I finally succeeded. Currently, Xiaochen was anxiously refining the innate beauty-nourishing pill. He had not refined medicinal pills for a long time, so his skills were rusty. After he bought the ingredients from the manager, he failed close to 7 or 8 times. Only then did he manage to refine this incredibly precious innate beauty-nourishing pill that could restore one's body to that of 20-odd years old. Actually, it was not just because Xiao Chen's skills were rusty, resulting in such a low success rate. The greater reason was that the innate beauty-nourishing pill was extremely difficult to refine in the first place. It was already very difficult to maintain one's skin and appearance. Furthermore, it had to restore one's skin and flesh from the inside out. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was heaven-defying. Simply put, it could restore an old woman's appearance to that of her youth. Compared to the effects of the beauty-nourishing pill, there was a qualitative difference. Fortunately, Xiaochen used the immortal epic's alchemy techniques. If it were the martial epic's alchemy techniques, the success rate would be several times higher. 2 days have passed already. I wonder how Imochen is doing? Xiaochen muttered to himself as he placed the innate beauty-nourishing pill into the jade bottle. As long as he could refine 1 heavenly origin pill out of 10 sets of ingredients, he would be able to recoup half of the 1 million black astral coins he invested. If he could refine 2, he would be able to break even. If he could refine 3, he could consume 1 and auction the remaining 2. Then, he would be able to recoup the 1 million black astral coins he spent. Of course, this was the best outcome. There was also a tragic one. If he failed all 10 refinements, not only would he lose everything, but he would also have to delay his recovery of strength. This was how alchemy was. Even the strongest alchemist could guarantee a 100% success rate. Once the refinement failed, the alchemist would not bear responsibility. The person requesting the alchemy pill would be responsible for the losses. Xiaochen prayed for a while. Then he walked over to Imochen's room anxiously. He could not help his nervousness. Right now, he had already reached a bottleneck. If he could not reform his law energy, he would find it hard to improve his strength. He would waste a lot of time. If he could reform his law energy, his strength would improve greatly, and he would be reborn. Xiaochen knocked on the door and stated his purpose. "Come in, young Master Wen. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Imochen's tone was not relaxed. "She waited for me for a long time and finished so early. Could it be that they all failed?" Xiaochen pushed the door open and entered. The heavenly phoenix medicine cauldron was no longer there. The manager must have taken it away. There were 10 jade bottles on the table. They were all sealed, so Xiaochen could not see what was inside. "How was it? Did you succeed?" Xiaochen asked anxiously. Imochen stared at Xiaochen with guilt in her eyes. Xiaochen's heart instantly turned cold. 10 sets of ingredients. I prepared 10 sets of ingredients, but I still failed. It looks like I have to find a grandmaster alchemist. However, Xiao Chen's mental state had already reached a certain level. This setback would not make him too depressed. Furthermore, he had the alchemic recipe. There was no need to worry about not recovering his strength. Smiling bitterly, Xiao Chen consoled Emo Chen, "It's fine. 1,000,000 black astral coins is nothing. If you failed, so be it." Emo Chen lowered her head and said softly, "Sorry, I overestimated my ability. 10 sets of ingredients, and I only succeeded in refining 5 heavenly origin pills." "It's fine, it's fine." "What? You succeeded in refining 5 heavenly origin pills?" This startled Xiao Chen. However, Emo Chen had already raised her head, and a crafty smile flashed in her eyes. Xiao Chen was speechless. This girl played him. Bang, bang, bang. Emo Chen giggled and flicked her fingers, shattering 5 of the 10 jade bottles on the table. "Take them. 5 heavenly origin pills and 1,000,000 black astral coins are more than enough for you to recoup your capital. You will even make a profit." Xiao Chen smiled. He had not expected Emo Chen's luck to be so heaven-defying. Based on his estimations, Emo Chen would only succeed in refining 3 heavenly origin pills at most. Who could have imagined that she would succeed in refining 5? This time, Xiao Chen would not just make a profit but a huge profit. It would not be exaggerated to sell 4 heavenly origin pills for 2,000,000 black astral coins. Chapter 1034. I also have a medicinal pill that I just refined for you. Wait for a while. Xiao Chen carefully put away the heavenly origin pill. Then, before Emo Chen's suspicious expression, he took out the jade bottle and smiled. This is an innate beauty-nourishing pill. It can rejuvenate one, preventing one's appearance from aging. It can also remove the scars on your face. Shock flashed in Emo Chen's eyes. After being stunned for a while, she looked at Xiao Chen and smiled. "Many thanks." However, Xiao Chen saw something else in Emo Chen's eyes. He said, "You probably won't use this medicinal pill, right?" Emo Chen nodded. "I personally destroyed my appearance. Naturally, I have to personally take it back. When I reach the state of Emperor Wu, I can reconstruct my golden body and completely restore my appearance." Xiao Chen felt tempted. He saw a shadow of himself in this girl. However, to a girl, being too firm was easy to break. Only the gentle could not be defeated. Xiao Chen did not know how to persuade her. After thinking for a while, he decided not to. He smiled and said, "Do your best. I'll wait for you to become Emperor Wu. I'll personally see you remove your veil." Emo Chen smiled faintly. "You speak as though you will definitely advance to martial emperor before me. Right now, you are only a martial monarch. If you want to rely on your physical body to advance to martial emperor, you will need at least 100 years. The Book of Heavenly Works does not only contain refining techniques. It also contains the Fire Li Sect's unique fire controlling techniques and a set of cultivation techniques. Given my talent, as long as I can obtain it, I will be able to become blue-robed emperor within 10 years. The emperor's door will be within reach." There was a flash of absolute confidence in her eyes, which had a different kind of charm to it. Xiao Chen did not argue. He smiled faintly and said, "That's right. At that time, I might even want you to be my bodyguard." "Oh, 1 year is too little. I want you to be my bodyguard for 10 years. Emo Chen's eyes lit up. She said seriously, "Good, it is settled then. When I become blue-robed emperor, I will be your bodyguard for 10 years. Xiao Chen smiled and did not take her seriously. After exchanging a few words, he took his leave. Now that his strength had recovered, he would be able to fight against the blue-robed emperor. Why would he need Emo Chen's protection? After that, Xiao Chen would be free and never come back to the Cloud Sea domain again. There should not be any interaction between Xiao Chen and Emo Chen. The two of them would brush past each other, leaving behind only memories. Xiao Chen was the Blue Dragon King. He still had a long way to go in his life. The Cloud Sea domain was destined to be just an interlude. But what he didn't know was that there were some people who, like him, kept their promises. Even if I have to go to the ends of the earth, I will still chase after you. When her hair reaches her waist, I will protect you for 10 years. After returning to his room, Xiaochen took out the heavenly origin pill and swallowed it without any hesitation after Ao Jiao reminded him of the things he needed to pay attention to. As the medicinal energy spread out, the Dantian shattered into countless origin source laws, slowly merging together. The process was extremely smooth. An expression of joy appeared on Xiaochen's face. He quietly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, drawing in the scattered origin source laws. A spot of light appeared outside the dark, chaotic, and lightless Dantian. Then the light grew brighter and brighter. Xiaochen's entire body started to release light from the inside out. Xiaochen's fine black hair and clothes all looked crystalline and translucent. In this beautiful light, Xiaochen's delicate face looked like an ancient deity walking out of a painting, looking extraordinarily handsome. After 15 minutes, when the medicinal energy was completely digested, the origin source laws completely formed. Xiaochen broke through and reformed, advancing to martial sage once more. Rings of purple heavenly sage laws appeared behind him. There were only 100 of them. Xiaochen was still an inferior grade martial sage. However, the circular heavenly sage laws that only grandmaster level martial sages had already appeared behind him. He had reached that level. As long as Xiaochen swallowed 10 more peak spirit veins, his cultivation would recover completely, returning to its peak and advancing further. After hesitating for a while, Xiaochen decided not to recover for now. A peak great grandmaster level martial sage with a peak rank 4 sage body and 5 dragon force. Such strength would definitely scare Mu Qinghan away from working with him. Xiaochen might as well wait for a while. There was no rush for 1 or 2 days. After all, as long as he wanted to, he could return to his peak at any time. Just as Xiaochen prepared to stop and recuperate, the 100 rings of purple light behind him started to change. The blue dragon yuanying in Xiaochen's Dantian moved quickly. The heavenly sage laws behind him seemed to be attracted, spinning along. The heavenly sage laws started to transform. In a situation that Xiaochen had not expected, the heavenly sage laws started to take form. The heavenly sage laws turned into ferocious dragons that exuded might and the air of a ruler. Amid the sparks of electricity, they were born. When the conditions are right, success will follow. Is this what Elder Qin meant by, when the conditions are right, success will follow? Somewhere in the shattered cloud sea, a small boat floated quietly on the sea. A white-haired old man wearing a conical bamboo hat sat at the bow of the boat. He wore a thick black cloak and held a fishing rod made of metal, calmly casting fish into the sea. There was no wind or waves. The boat continued to float on the water, not moving at all. If a cultivator of the Cloud Sea domain happened to pass by, he would definitely know this old man's identity. He was a famous loose cultivator of the Cloud Sea domain, known as the Old Fish Eccentric. He was a peak great grandmaster level martial sage. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound of something tearing through the air rang out. In the distance, a beautiful middle-aged woman, wearing an enchanting red dress, was walking on the water as she approached. She looked like a blooming peony, bright red and glistening, giving off a floral fragrance. Old Fish Eccentric, you did not even put any bait on your fishing rod. Can you even cast fish? The beautiful middle-aged woman asked with a smile as she approached. She looked very charming. She did not feel any fear or embarrassment at this infamous loose cultivator who killed people like scything flax. That was right. This beautiful middle-aged woman was also a loose cultivator. Her cultivation and reputation were no weaker than the Old Fish Eccentrics. In fact, it was even worse. Those who were killed by it would all turn into red bones. It was extremely strange. Madam Flower, I am not fishing. I am waiting for the fish to jump out on its own, the Old Fish Eccentric said indifferently with a strange smile. Ha! This fish is indeed big enough. If it jumps out, can you finish it alone? The beautiful middle-aged woman, addressed as Madam Flower, had a smile in her phoenix eyes. Her voice had a bewitching charm to it. The Old Fish Eccentric smiled and said, Aren't my old friends here already? A gentle breeze blew, and the seawater rippled gently. The surrounding clouds moved. 3 great Grandmaster-level martial sages of different ages and auras rushed over from the distance. One of them was 2 meters tall and had a thick waist and broad shoulders. His skin was exposed, and his bulging muscles looked like small hills, looking very sturdy. This person carried a broadsword on his back that was as thick as a door. It weighed several tens of thousands of kilograms. This man was known as the Iron Sword Maniac. When he erupted with his full power, even an ordinary blue-robed emperor would not dare to clash head-on. The other person was a youth with a head full of silver hair. He gave off a ferocious killing chi. His appearance was delicate, but his eyes were scarlet. It looked like a demonic beast that was walking on 2 legs. In reality, this was indeed the case. The silver-haired youth was a member of the fiend race from the sea. He was a silver shark that had gained sentience and taken human form. In the Cloud Sea domain, he was even more infamous than the old fish eccentric. His killing methods were the cruelest. The last person was an old man whose face was covered with wrinkles. He wore a sackcloth garment, and although he looked very ordinary, his cultivation base was the highest among the 5. This old man had already touched the vast chasm between great Grandmaster-level martial sages and the blue-robed emperor. He was only a step away from forging a bridge. This old man's name was Gao Yangyu. He was the leader of the 5 great loose cultivators here. The 5 great loose cultivators of the Cloud Sea domain normally went their separate ways. Now they were strangely gathered together. If they did not have a motive, no one would believe it. Gao Yangyu said, "Old fish eccentric, you have been to the treasure mountain 5 times in total. Are you really confident that the treasure mountain will appear here this time?" The old fish eccentric did not put away his fishing rod. He said calmly, "Everyone is not here yet. I will tell you when everyone is here." Right after the old fish eccentric spoke, huge waves suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. The small boat drifted with the waves, rising and falling, looking very startling. Amid the strong winds and huge waves, an extremely young-looking man emerged from the waves. There was a wound on this young man's shoulder. Clearly, he had just undergone a huge battle. Blood flowed out, but his expression did not change, like he did not feel anything. The moment the young man stepped on the waves and passed through them, everything was calm and tranquil. He was like the king of the sea. Everywhere he went, no one dared to defy him. This will of a king could make everyone submit with just a raise of his hand. Xinyuan Zhantian. The gazes of the 5 people were all focused on this person. Their faces were solemn, as if they were facing a great enemy. The youth before them was only a Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, he gave these great Grandmaster-level martial sages great pressure. Even Gao Yangyu frowned slightly, revealing a cautious expression. This youth before them had come to the Cloud Sea domain 4 years ago. Who knew what fortuitous encounter he had? In merely 2 years, he had killed his way to his current position among the loose cultivators of the Cloud Sea domain, becoming the 6th strongest outside of the 5 great loose cultivators. Now that everyone is here, we can speak. If nothing unexpected happens, the treasure mountain will appear in the sea in front after another incense stick's worth of time. The 5 looked in the direction that the old fish eccentric pointed. It was an extremely ordinary sea region. There was nothing strange about it on the surface. Xinyuan Zhantian frowned and said, "There does not seem to be anything special about this place. How do you know that the treasure mountain will appear here?" The old fish eccentric smiled and said, "The fish at the bottom of the sea told me. Whether you believe me or not, we will know after 1 incense stick's worth of time." The others were dubious. If they did not believe him at all, they would not have come all the way to the shattered Cloud Sea just because of 1 sentence from the old fish eccentric. After all, the other party was someone who had been to the treasure mountain 5 times. Time slowly approached. Soon, the time for 1 incense stick to burn could only be counted in seconds. Everyone stared at the sea that the old fish eccentric pointed at. Boom! After they finished counting in their hearts, a sharp horn suddenly shot up from the sea. In the next moment, the horn soared into the sky, bringing up a tall mountain that pierced the clouds. The surroundings of the tall mountain were shrouded in fog. They could vaguely make out a dilapidated palace, a remnant with a dense ancient aura, and the occasional flash of treasure light and colorful spirit herbs. The 6 great loose cultivators of the Cloud Sea domain all revealed expressions of joy in their eyes. The treasure mountain was indeed a bona fide treasure mountain. The old fish eccentric was right. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.